The items that will be discussed here this morning went out in an email yesterday evening from me to all local health directors. So please check that, and if you have any issues, need it reset, go ahead and email me on my email here, and I'll be monitoring that, and we'll get it out to you here this morning here if you don't have it, okay? With House Bill 1 that was passed here 2 years ago, we had a lot of changes in reporting requirements for our special taxing districts. You know, we worked very closely with State Auditor Adam Edlin and his staff, Tom and Nathan and the people in his office to work on this legislation that brought some much more transparency and accountability to special taxing districts. Special taxing districts, of which we are one in public health departments. We have always been subject to reporting requirements, and health departments, you know, being used to a lot of stringent requirements is nothing new to us. And so you know, as this was brought up, a lot of us saw this as a very good thing. We tried to work with Adam Edlin to make sure that we saw a piece of legislation that would actually simplify things for us. And once we get over this learning curve, think that this is going to be a much more efficient way for us to report our special taxing districts in the long run here and make things easier for us. But of course, we've got a learning curve. We're very appreciative of our partners at the Department of Local Government, who's been charged with the implementation of that piece of legislation, being here with us this morning to do a training specifically directed for local health departments. I know some of us have already attended the regional trainings where they were targeted at all special taxing districts, but this is an opportunity where they're going to answer questions and do something just for us in local health departments so that we can all be compliant. We have Mr. Matthew Froelich, who is the local government branch manager for the DLG, and then Mr. Darren Sammons, who is the staff attorney. And I know they're going to be presenting, Matt told me, 3 of these trainings today, so we're glad we get to go first here. So we'll get the best, I'm sure, right here at the top of the morning. So, gentlemen, I'll turn it over to you. We appreciate you being with us this morning.
Good morning. As you mentioned, my name is Matt Froelich. I'm the Cities and Special Districts Branch Manager, or what they now refer to as Special Purpose Governmental Entities, as well as that rolls off the tongue. At our office, we just call them SPGEs for short. I actually took over the office on the 15th of April. If you had ever were considered a special district before and contacted our office, chances are you spoke to Glenn Oldham at one point or another. Mr. Oldham actually retired at the end of March. Prior to coming over to the Cities and Special Districts branch, I actually spent 10 years working in our county's branch dealing with finances for our county governments, working mostly with judge executives, fiscal courts, county treasurers, finance officers, and we also did some work with county sheriffs and the county clerks. The presentation itself, to tell you a little bit about it, this is really, it's been modified from our full-out presentation that we've been doing around the state for about the past 4 weeks. This is actually our 15th training. We have another one, actually 2 in northern Kentucky later on this afternoon. What we've been doing is going out and doing 2 trainings at each location. So in reality, we're closing in on 30 training sessions doing this already. Tomorrow is actually our last day of training, so we have one more day in Lexington. So we're looking forward to being done with all this as far as the training is concerned. But we'll be out around the state probably doing some more training like this. We've already been asked to do one for fire districts down in western Kentucky, and we'll be talking at a lot of conferences to elected officials about how the law is going to impact them. So this presentation, if you actually came to one of our other ones that's been presented at an area development district, this is really just a slightly modified version of that. So a lot of this information is going to look very, very similar to you, but there are some very specific things that we need to address for health departments and health taxing districts to make sure we get you in the system the way that you need to be as far as your name. And we'll talk about the registration fee as well, because there's going to be some impact on that for some of you all as to whether or not you're going to have to actually pay that fee. All right. Tell you a little bit about our agency. Our commissioner is Tony Wilder. Our chief of staff is Russ Salzman, and actually there is a good chance that Russ may be joining us here before we get done today. Unfortunately, he's going out of town for 10 days to go visit his daughter who lives out of the country. So he thought he was going to be here, and then at the last second, he thought he probably needed to stay at the office and make sure everything was good with the commissioner. So we may or may not see him. Again, my name is Matt Froelich. I'm the branch manager. Darren Sammons is our staff attorney, and we'll talk here in a little bit about why Darren's a good guy to know in this whole law. We are a branch of 4. Linda Lilly, Tammy Vernon, and Lori Wilson are our local government advisors. So if you think about that, right now we have 1,508 known special purpose governmental entities. And if that isn't enough, we actually work with 420 cities as well with a staff of 4 people. So I'm sure you all can relate, but we're spread pretty thin. So if you call our office, you email us, we'll get back to you as soon as we possibly can, but it may be 24 hours. That's just, especially right now with all the training that we're doing and getting people taught this new law, it may take a little bit of time. All right? Let's talk a little bit about the law itself. House Bill 1 was passed by the General Assembly during the 2013 session. It created a new section in the law, which is now known as 65A. It actually amended a lot of other portions in the law. The goal overall was to provide transparency for public funds held by special purpose governmental entities. Why the new law? Well, in November of 2012, there was a report that came out from our auditor, Adam Edlin, called Ghost Government, a special report on a report on special districts in Kentucky. And this is one of the quotes from the report. For generations, no Kentuckian has been able to determine how many special districts exist, how much money flows through them, where they are located, and whether they are compliant with the law. Some other things the report found. At that time, there were approximately 1,200, what they refer to as special purpose governmental entities, but those were actually special districts that we already knew of in our system. 1,200 entities. They spent approximately $2.7 billion annually. And just to give you an idea, for those that were taxing districts, in all but 3 counties, those taxing districts took in more money in property taxes than the county government actually did.
That included the school boards too.
Absolutely. Yep. One of the biggest things that KRS 65A did was define what a special purpose governmental entity is. And I'll be honest, when they wrote this law, they did one of 2 things. Either they specifically reference a type of entity, or they cast a really big net. And they did that really big net by using this 4-tier system. And it's my personal belief that they went out to capture as many entities as they possibly could. So, how does it define a special purpose governmental entity? Well, first, do you exercise less than statewide jurisdiction? That's going to apply to everyone here. Do you exist for the purpose of providing one or a limited number of services or functions? That's pretty much everyone here. You are governed by a board, council, commission, committee, authority, or corporation with policy-making authority that is separate from the state and the governing body of the city, county, cities, or counties in which it operates. So you have your own independent board. Okay? The last one is the one that caught a lot of entities that otherwise were never considered a special district that are now a special purpose governmental entity. You have the independent authority to generate public funds. So for a lot of you all that are in health taxing districts, that's going to get you right there. Or, here's the big one, you may, yes ma'am. Oh, that's interesting. It did not print front and back. Okay.
Some of us got the legislature.
Okay. Well, that's interesting. Half did, half didn't. They were all printed in the same batch. That's really interesting. We good? Everyone have a good copy now? All right, apologize. Not exactly sure how some turned out that way and some didn't. The last one is that caught a lot of entities is that you may receive or expend public funds, grants, awards, or appropriations from the state, any agency, city, county, or SPGE. Now, it doesn't say you actually receive it. It says that you may. You have the ability to. So we have a lot of entities that got caught up in this, and I'll use housing associations as a good example. They're regulated by HUD, federal government. They don't, for the most part that we know of, the vast majority receive or haven't received in years money from city, county, state. But because they have the ability to, if someone came to them with a grant and offered it to them, would there be anything that precludes them from accepting it? They're now caught up in this. So you can imagine how many entities we're talking about. So, your county health department, if you're a health department that gets money from the county itself, you're going to be included in this, obviously. If the money is coming from your health taxing district to your county health department, obviously you're getting money from another SPGE in this case. So you're going to be included. So you can see how pretty much every health entity got picked up in this. And that includes your regional entities as well who are getting money from health taxing districts. So what else does 65A compel us to do? Well, you have to register with the Department for Local Government. There's also an annual registration fee, and it sets requirements for financial reporting. Now the registration should have been done by December 31st, 2013. However, if you're not registered, we will get you into the system because you need to be in the system. We'll make sure everyone gets registered. This isn't some deadline that has passed, you're now out of luck. We're going to make sure we get everyone that needs to be in, because we want to make sure we have compliance with this law. There's an annual registration fee. You can essentially pay that when you registered. A lot of you may have paid that when you registered, or you may just be sitting back right now and waiting to see how things play out. You have to pay the annual registration fee no later than 15 days after the start of the fiscal year, and here's why. Paying the registration fee is tied to whether or not you can go forward in the process, in the financial reporting. We'll talk a little bit about the budget. You have to have your budget in no later than 15 days after the start of your fiscal year. So if you don't pay the registration fee, you can't go and do financial disclosure. So that'll prevent you from moving forward in the process. As I mentioned, we have 1,508 entities as of yesterday in the system. I'll be honest, we know somewhere probably around 300 that have not registered. We'll probably be around 1,800 by the time this is done, and maybe even larger than that. That's a long way from the 1,200 that the auditor put out in his initial report. Okay, so you can see how this is growing and how it's capturing so many other entities that never used to be special districts. So, registration, everything you do is going to come from our website. And our website is kydlgweb.ky.gov. Anything and everything you do with this system is going to be on our website. On the left-hand side, there's a blue section. You're going to click on Financial Management and Administration. And you'll get a drop-down box for Special Purpose Governmental Entities. And there's a box for registration. So if you have not registered your entity yet, that is where you would go on to actually register it. What it'll do is the screen will pop up, a drop-down box. You'll select the county where you're located, and then there'll be a big red, I believe it's red, it says Tutorial. If you click on that tutorial, and if any of you have registered, you've been through it, there's a gentleman that'll pop up, an animated guy that'll walk you through the entire process of what you need. And I love it that he's here right now because one of the ladies in our office created that, and I don't know if he knows it, but she modeled it after Darren, the guy that walks you through the system. So, doesn't sound like him, thankfully, but looks very, very similar to him. So, there is a gentleman, an animated version that'll walk you through registration if you haven't already done so. Really quite simple. Let's talk about registration for you all. All county and regional health departments and county health taxing districts are going to have to register as special purpose governmental entities. Okay? That means there should be, from what we know in our discussions, 180 registered entities, health entities. To date, we know we have 121 in our system. The only exception to this is going to be Jefferson County, and here's why. There is an exemption in the law that says if all of your funding, your receipts, your appropriations flow through a county or city government, then you're exempt from this. Which means anyone from the public could go and look at the county's budget, the city's budget. You're a part of their government. You're not your own truly independent entity. Everything with Jefferson County flows through Louisville Metro government, so anyone from the public could go and look at Louisville Metro's budget or financial information and see Jefferson County's health department information. So that's why they're not included in this. Now, if you have already registered, if you're one of those 121 entities, we need you to go in and look in your registration at your name. How have you named yourself? And this is a big deal because this is going to provide some consistency across the state and how everyone refers to them, but also it's going to help us in exempting some of you from that registration fee. And here's why I say that. Of the 121, here's some examples of how entities have named themselves from you all. Board of Health, Board of Health Taxing District, Public Health, it's nothing else, just Public Health. County Health Department, Public Health Taxing District. So, I mean, it's all over the place. And these are just some of the examples I picked up in the very beginning, probably out of the first 30 or 40. So we didn't really, I mean, my guess is there's probably a couple more different variations. Here's how we would prefer it if you all could name yourself. Whatever your county is, Public Health Taxing District, whatever your county is, Health Department, or if you're a regional entity, blank, whatever you are, District Health Department. So really it should be, we should have 180 registrations falling into one of these three kind of categories of names. Yes, ma'am.
Can you go in and change it if you've already?
I'll talk to you. Yes, absolutely. We'll talk about it here in just a second. Okay? So, if you go in, you've registered. Now, if you haven't registered, when you register, you're going to get to create your name. So, please do us a favor, choose one of those three that applies to your entity. If you've already registered and you need to go in and verify or edit your name, you're going to log into our system. And if you've been into our system, you've probably seen the dashboard, which I'll show you here in a little bit. On the right-hand side on the top corner, there will be a blue thing that says Go to Registration. If you click on that, it's going to bring up the registration form that you submitted with the contact information, your board members, your location, all of that. If you scroll all the way down to the bottom, you can click on Edit Registration. And then you can go back in and you can change your name. Now your entity ID, which is assigned to you when you register, that will never change. But you're just tweaking your name to fit one of those three categories. Does that make sense to everybody? Now here's why this is going to be a big deal. The law compels a registration fee, and it's based upon your annual revenue. Now, if you take in less than $100,000, the registration fee is $25. If you're between $100,000 and $500,000, it's $250. If you are over $500,000, it is $500. In my understanding, the vast majority of us are over $500,000. Is that correct? I think we have a few that might be in that middle section, but not very many. Okay? The registration fee. We have had a lot of discussions going back and forth because we understand that there is a relationship for a lot of you all between your health taxing district and your county health department. Your health taxing district is purely collecting a tax base and sending it on to the county health department. That's accurate? Our understanding? Okay. What we wanted to avoid doing was essentially double feeing or double taxing entities on the same pot of money. I mean, we just didn't think that didn't make any sense. I mean, ideally, it's wrong. So, 112 health taxing districts need to register and pay the registration fee. There are 7 county health departments, we know you do not have a corresponding health taxing district. You are going to have to register, just like everyone else, and pay the fee. So in essence, we should have one entity from all 119 counties registering and paying. Now again, we should have 180 entities register, but 119 will pay. Again, the only exception to this is Jefferson, because they're part of Louisville Metro, so they're exempt from this entire thing. So really what we will have is, we'll have 61 entities that will register and not pay. You'll be exempt from the payment. And here's how that'll work. I mentioned who's exempt. There's 61 of you all. The 15 regional health departments. Again, you'll have to register. You will not have to pay because your health taxing districts that are already registering and paying and sending that tax money to you, it's the same pot. They're already paying. There are 46 county health departments that have a corresponding health taxing district. They're collecting that money. They're registering. They're paying. They're sending that money to you. That registration fee is not going to apply to you as well. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay, and I think, it's my understanding that with the presentation, probably got a list. This is kind of a cheat sheet that we put together in our office that essentially kind of just laid out based upon the information that we've been given in our discussions. What kind of entity are you? Do you have to register? And are you going to have to pay the fee? Okay? So if you've got the email, it was pretty good cheat sheet to know whether or not this is going to apply to you or all. And this is what we're going to use. So if you're one of those 61 entities and you're looking for that exemption, because again, you either have to pay the fee or you're going to have to get the exemption before you can go forward in the financial disclosure, here's how you're going to do that. Well, one, if you haven't registered your entity, register your entity. Like I said, we know there's a lot of 60 that are probably not registered. My guess is it's probably because of this situation. If you're already registered, go in, verify your name, edit it if you need to. And I'm guessing the vast majority of us probably are going to have to edit it to match one of those three names. Email me directly after you've done so. If you are one of those 61 that you believe are on that list and you are an exemption, email me directly. And here's what's going to happen. You're going to give me the name of your entity as you've registered it, and you're going to tell me it's because we're seeking the exemption. We're on your list. Blank County Health Department, we're one of these 46. We should get the exemption because our health taxing district is already registering and paying. Okay? We're going to be able to go into the system through the back door, essentially click a button that is going to say exempt. And then you'll be able to go into the system and move forward with the process. I'm not exactly sure on your dashboard if it's going to say paid or exempt yet, but either way, it's going to show that you can move forward. Our IT guy's putting the final touches on that process today. So hopefully, if you wanted to send it, if you wanted to do it, hopefully come tomorrow, we'll be exempting people. So you could probably go back and modify or check your information and send us something by the end of the day. So it's going to be our responsibility to determine your exemption status. Are you one of those 61? And we'll take that email. Everything looks good. We'll go into the system. We'll exempt you. We'll send you an email right back that says, you've been exempt. This entity, you can move forward. Or you may get an email back that says, don't think you're on the list. Maybe we need to talk about this a little bit and see. And my guess is, looking at this list, it's going to be pretty cut and dry, you know, who needs to be exempt and not. Yes, ma'am. Yes, because you're registering each entity as an SPGE, everyone gets their own independent ID number. And that's how we actually track everybody, is actually through your ID number. So why the fee? Well, the law says it goes to the Office of the Auditor of Public Accounts and the Department for Local Government. What we are using our portion for is for the creation, maintenance, and administration of that registry and the financial disclosure program. Big part of this is all on the front end, getting everyone registered and getting you to report your information. On the back end, by October 1st, we have to create what's called a public portal. And that is, anyone from the public is going to be able to go on our website and search by county, area development district, or your entity type, and they should be able to pull up a list of those entities. And they will be able to go on and look at your registration, your financial disclosure, your most recent audit or attestation engagement. So this was all done with the transparency model so the public could go to one place and look at anyone that receives public funds that's a special purpose governmental entity and see how that money is coming in and how it's being expended. So that's really kind of how this all came to be. So that's what a big portion of our money is being spent on. It's also being used for providing education to all the governing bodies and employees of special purpose governmental entities. So this is actually our 16th day of training. We have one more tomorrow. We'll have gone to every single area development district after today. We've actually done 2 in Lexington and 2 in Louisville just because of the number of SPGEs. We already have a couple. We're going down to Western, as I mentioned earlier, Western Kentucky to talk to about 20 volunteer fire departments, which are entities that never had to report anything to anybody, and there's hundreds of them. So you can only imagine. You can see, you start saying, you can see how some of this law came to be. People that were always reporting just got caught up in this, grabbing everyone else to get them reporting. So also, we have some requirements with enforcing compliance, and now Darren's actually going to come up and talk about compliance here later on in the presentation. Let's talk about what you actually have to submit. You've registered. You've paid or you've been exempted from the payment. You can go forward with the financial disclosure portion of the law. The first thing is the budget submission. Now, our system, moving forward, will always be open 60 days from the start of the fiscal year. So for you all, that's going to be May 1st because you run on a July 1st to June 30th fiscal year. That's actually set by the Kentucky Constitution. Okay? You have until 15 days into the fiscal year to submit your budget information. Okay? So you have until July 15th. You can go in and do it from May 1st all the way until July 15th moving forward. We'll open the system up that early. So, I mean, you have about 75 days. So it's all about when your board passes your budget and when you want to go in and put it in. Big thing is 15 days into the start of the fiscal year, you want to make sure you have it in. And we'll talk a little bit about what exactly we're looking for. Amendments. You have until the close of the fiscal year to post any amendments to the system. Now, all of this law takes effect July 1, 2014, and everything is moving forward. There is no retroactive kind of provisions with this. You're not going to be posting anything that's going on right now in your current fiscal year. So you will be posting your budget for 2014-2015. So by June 30th, 2015, you're going to have to put into our system any amendments you've done to your budget throughout the course of the fiscal year. Now, getting some more detail in a little bit, but with amendments, you can go in and post any time during the year. If you want to do it every single time your board does an amendment to the budget, you can do that. If you want to wait until June 29th, June 30th, and post everything that you've done throughout the course of the fiscal year, that's at your discretion. You can do it every month, every quarter, once at the end. Because obviously, if you're doing amendments in-house, they're being passed by your board, being approved by your board. Everyone can come and look if they wanted to under open meetings, open records, and see when amendments were actually done. For our system, you just have to show everything by the end of the fiscal year. Year-end financials. You are going to have to provide to us as well what your year-end actuals that you did. And this has to be done 60 days, by 60 days of the close of the fiscal year. So for you all, that's September 1st. Okay? Now, these are unaudited figures. Obviously, you're not going to have your audit done in 60 days, and we know this. We're actually going to be putting a disclaimer on the public portal that's going to say year-end financials are unaudited information, because your audit's going to be on there as well. And you know what's going to happen. Someone from the public is going to go out and look, and they're going to look at that year-end financial, and they're going to look at the audit, and this doesn't make sense. They don't match up at all. But we understand that, so we're going to make sure that disclaimer is out there so it kind of stops that issue from happening. Okay. The UFR. Let's talk about the UFR. before I came over to cities and special districts, it was my understanding or our understanding that the UFER was going to be completely done away with. It no longer existed. Well, there's still a section in kHDA61714 that says the Department for Local Government shall work with the U.S. Census Bureau to provide them the information that they need. So I called the Census Bureau. Now you have to understand, Darren and I weren't here when this all started. We've had 2 lawyers leave, and Census apparently has had 2 people leave. But myself, Darren, and our Chief of Staff, Russ Salzman, sat in and called Census, and we asked them, what do you need exactly? Because it's our understanding that what we're collecting in here will work. I apologize, I can't move away from the screen. All right. And their response was, you know that form F65? Yeah, that's the form that we call the UFER. That's the information we need. Okay. So we talked to them a little bit, and essentially this is what it came down to. 26 states collect the information for census and submit it to them. And 24 states do not. And the rate of compliance, as you can imagine, is far greater in those 26 states than it is in the 24. And the question was asked during our conversation, well, what happens if we stop collecting it? And their response was, well, we really appreciate it that you do, and we'd hope that you would continue to do so. And then the question was asked, okay, again, what happens if we don't? And their response was, well, we'd probably send them a paper copy in the mail and try to get the information anyway. So it left us with 2 choices. We could do away with the UFER, and the feds, census, could come to you, send you a paper copy, and ask for it anyway. May happen. Or we can continue to provide the option for you to do it, and we will submit it to census on your behalf. Now, you're not going to find the word UFER anywhere in KRS-65A, the new SPGE law, because it is not a required portion of financial disclosure. The form is on there. If you want to fill it out and you want to complete it, and DLG will send it to census on your behalf. If you choose not to, that is your choice. But again, realize we can't speak for census and the feds. If you don't, they may still send you a paper copy and ask you to do it anyway. We don't know that. That was kind of what they alluded to in our telephone conversation with them. Okay? So we merely put it out there as a tool for you to use if you want to. If you've always been filling it out, and it's not a big deal to you, fill it out, we'll send it to them, you don't have to worry about it. If you don't, that's your choice. But it is not a required part of this financial disclosure in this law. It is just something we're putting on the system if you choose to use it. Okay?
On the website where the public goes to pull up the information, kind of over on the left-hand screen, there's the drop-down box that's got all of the taxing districts and special entities listed. Right below that, there is the option where you can click the drop-down boxes for either the UFER or the budget. Even when I read the description of the UFER, I didn't try to understand it a lot. I just read it briefly and I didn't quite grasp it. I mean, I was a new member of the general population. It wouldn't make no sense to me.
Right.
But the drop-down box is defaulted to UFER. It should probably be defaulted to budget.
And like I said, we haven't. But that's all based upon when you all had to submit the budget and the UFER to us. Because what used to happen is you all obviously you gave a budget to your fiscal court by June 1st. Any of those special districts did, because they had to submit it to our office by July 1. And all those went on to the system. So that's all old system stuff. That's not part of the new public portal. We haven't even gotten into that. So literally what will happen with the public portal is, everything will pop up for you, and people will get to click in a PDF version what they want to look at.
So what I was looking at was not the public portal.
No, the public portal hasn't even been created yet. Yes, ma'am.
I'm with him. I got an email from your office that said that's what we should direct the public to.
Okay. So I get. Okay. Currently, if anyone wanted to look at it, yes. But I mean, moving forward, like I said, the public portal, we will be obviously modifying things. I mean, it really hasn't been fully implemented and built yet. So, I mean, we're getting there. I mean, like I said, it has to go live by October 1st. We're not going to default, I can tell you this right now, we're not going to default to the UFR because the UFR only applies to entities that have taxing authority, the ability to tax. So, I mean, for your county health departments, you don't levy a tax. The UFR is never even a possibility to you, so we're gonna have defaulting to something else. I mean, it's not going to be the UFR. It doesn't apply to everybody. Because obviously, if it defaulted to that and someone doesn't apply to or chose not to do it, someone would never get anything trying to go that way. So, I mean, that's an IT thing that we're gonna have to work when we build the public portal moving forward. Yeah. Audit. Audits are a required portion of financial disclosure. And we'll talk a little bit more in detail with audits, but essentially this is what it boils down to. For those of you that are every year entities that would have to get an audit every year, by the end of 2015, so June 30, 2015, you would have 12 months to have your audit completed. You have a full year to get your audit done. Okay? And we'll talk a little bit about how you'll go in and you'll post that audit into our system, but it's pretty straightforward. It's just a click, click, click. Okay? As long as you have it in a PDF copy, you can send it to us. And we'll talk about that in detail. Okay. This is from our presentation as a whole. One of the first things you have to determine is what type of entity you are when you go into the system. Now, it's going to be pretty straightforward for you all. Every single person in here is going to be a non-enterprise. That means you are providing a service. You are providing a service. Okay? The question for you all is, do you have taxing authority or not? Now, obviously, if you are a health taxing district, you're going to say, we have taxing authority. If you are a county health department or a regional health entity, you're going to say, without taxing authority. The difference is whether or not you even have the option to submit the UFR. That's really the only difference. The forms are identical. It's just a matter of whether or not you have the ability to submit the UFR. Okay? We have a lot of other different type of entities, housing authorities. Enterprise are those entities that provide a product that they get paid for, a lot of utilities. And then there's special federally regulated utilities as well that have been carved out in the law. So for you all, you're going to be non-enterprise. The question is, do you have taxing authority or do you not? Okay, talk about the actual process. We'll talk about the login, the dashboard, your workbooks, okay, the actual financial disclosure, which is the budget, amendments, and year-end financials that we talked about earlier, the 3 dates, the UFR, if you choose to do it, and the audit. Okay, this is our website. If you've registered, you're familiar with it. Left-hand side, financial management and administration, special purpose governmental entities. There in gray at the bottom, it says financial disclosure. It says coming soon, but it is open and live. It's been live since the middle of May. So you can go in there right now. If you have not registered, you're going to go into registration there up above and register. But if you're moving forward in the process, whether it's paying or doing your financial disclosure, you're going to go into financial disclosure. Click the county, the drop-down box, where you're located, and then click search. You will get a page that looks like this. This should have every entity that we know of in your county that is a special purpose governmental entity that we're aware of at this point. If you're not on that list, that means you are not in our system, you have not registered, we do not know about you. We may know about you, but you're not in our system registered. You're going to click on where it says here at the star. It's going to take you back to that registration page. You'll register your entity. If you're able to look here and see how you named yourself when you registered, you should know right away whether or not it jives with one of the 3 that we gave you. Yes, sir?
I mean, I can see there it says Adair County Public Health.
Mm-hmm.
It does. I know when Leah registered, when she registered, it says Adair County Public Health Taxing District. I'm just assuming that they're all going to say public health.
They may be short. If it says taxing district, that's really what we're looking for at the end of the day. We need to know if it's a taxing district, a health department.
But as far as the public goes, if they're going to search, I guess all the health departments must be titled public health. Or will they be titled,
We're going to have to set up search criteria. I mean, what they're going to end up probably finding is health taxing district, or what they'll do is if they search health, they'll pull up anyone that has health in the name, which would not only be you all, it would probably be mental health. We have some mental health entities out there as well. It's going to be how we set up the search criteria. So what you're probably going to find is most people probably aren't going to search by your name unless there's someone that's just really interested in comparing you to a group of entities like you. You're probably going to find that people are going to search by the county in which they live and who's providing the services in their area. As I think what we find more than anything else.
Our name on that doesn't match the way we register, so I'm assuming that there's some sort of shortcut there. There's been a common terminology in the search criteria.
So you're saying this is you here at Dare County Public Health? We have to go in and look at how the registration reads. Because I know there's obviously there's enough spacing for it to put a full name in. So we probably just have to go and check that registration and see what it actually says. Okay. So what you have to do is, once you find yourself on there, you're going to tell us what type of entity you are. What's your form type? You're either going to be a non-enterprise with taxing authority or non-enterprise without. Put that in that drop box, and you're going to click This is me. It's then going to take you to the login. Now, if you were a special district before, you got a username and password email or mailed to you. Same one you used for registration, it's the same one you'll use for this. If you created your entity for the first time, but you're going to be doing that, it will be emailed to you after you complete registration. Everyone has a unique username. There's a few characters. It also includes your user ID number in there. But also everyone has a unique password as well. So if you lose your password, you forget your password, you can call or email us. We can get it to you really quickly over the phone right away. That's not a problem. Now, if you choose, you have the option to change your password. If you choose to change your password, it blocks out on our system. You have created a private password that no one else can look at. So if you choose to change your password, just realize if you lose it or forget it and then you call us, we're going into our IT people and we're going to have a hard reset done of your password to give you another default and then get it back to you. And how quickly that happens is really kind of contingent upon where our IT guy is, how quickly he can reset it, and how quickly we can get back to you. So if you're worried about bumping up against deadlines or forgetting to do stuff or losing your password, I would highly recommend not changing your password so if something happens, we can get it to you right away. Okay. So if you have successfully logged into the system, this is the dashboard, just like your car. It's going to tell you what's going on. Something's not there, something's missing, something's wrong. Gas is full, everything looks good. It's broken down into 3 sections, and each section has multiple lines. The first section is your account information. The top part is your registration. Have you registered? Well, it'll tell you yes or no by the date of registration and either a name or an ID number. The next section will tell you whether or not you have paid. If there's nothing there, it'll say not paid. Okay? If you have not paid, or again, you want to go in and verify your registration name, your entity name, there's that blue go on registration in the top right-hand corner. Click on that, go down to the bottom, click Edit Registration, edit your name as you need to. If you haven't paid, what you'll do is you'll go to registration, you'll go through registration and verify everything is correct. Once you get through that, it'll take you to the payment page. Payment can be done one of 2 ways. It can only be done electronically. It can be done with a credit card or an electronic transaction with a check. And unfortunately, it's being handled by a third party, so we don't have the ability to accept paper checks. Okay? So even if you need 2 signatures on your checks to be approved by your board, you can take that check, you can cut it, have it signed, void it, enter your routing number, account information, put it into our system. That just shows the check was actually done and approved. You can keep that for audit records. And it doesn't look like you just went in and spent money without approval. So you can do that way. All right. If at any point you have paid and you realize I'm one of these exempt entities, I need a refund, email us. We can get that refund issued. It takes about 24 to 48 hours for the process to happen, business days. But we can get that refund issued. Okay? Talk about the financial disclosures, the middle section, which we'll go through in detail, and the audits. The middle section is financial disclosure. You'll see there's some grayed out sections. We have set up this process so you can't accidentally click something. You can't go forward in the next step of the process unless you've done the one before it. So for instance, we're in the second line that says enter budget estimates. If you hadn't paid, that would be grayed out as well. So you can't even do that until you've paid and gone into the system. So right now, you'll see enter budget amendments and year-end actuals are grayed out because you can't amend your budget until you actually go in and put it in. Okay, so we've tried to take out the accidental click out of the equation. You can't really do anything by accident in this system. Anything you submit to us or you have submitted to us in the past that we have electronically, it's going to go on the reports section. And this is the kind of things that the public is going to see. These are going to be PDF versions of the information that you send us. This is what will be out on the public portal. Okay, your registration information, your budget information as you submit it, okay, your audits. Those are the things that the public will be able to go out and look at. There's PDF documents of what you actually submit us. Okay. Everyone in here is a non-enterprise entity with taxing or non-taxing authority. Let's talk about actually going in and doing the financial disclosure. So, we have provided a workbook on our system. Has anyone used our budget form in the past, the 3-year budget form? Okay, we have a couple hands. If you've used that, this will look very familiar because this is the form modified. Instead of 3 years, where it's 3 separate columns, now it's 3 columns, which is budget, amendments, and year-end actuals. It is a 1-year process. There is no multiple year kind of look at in comparison with the old budget form. The form is identical. The workbook is strictly a tool that you can use if you choose to do so. You don't have to use it, but what you're going to find here in a second is what we're looking for on our workbook is going to match up to the columns that we're looking for in our year-end, on our financial disclosure information. So if you have your own reports that you use and you can build a crosswalk from them to fill in the information, the categories, that is completely up to you. And what you're going to find when we get in here, if we click on workbook, the first thing you're going to get is a summary page. And it's an Excel document. So there really is just 3 tabs. Okay, it's instructions, summary, okay, and the body of it. That's all it is. It's a 2003 Excel document. Now, if you are using Excel 2010, just a heads up, you need to make sure you save this document. This is the one document on this whole thing that you can save to your own computer, your hard drive, because there are some compatibility issues. Sometimes things don't want to add correctly. They won't add at all. It's not they don't add correctly, they won't add at all, or transfer to the summary page if you have not saved it. So if you're going to use this and you start putting information, make sure you save it to your computer. That would be my one big recommendation. So here it is. This is a summary page. Okay, as I said, you can see 3 columns. Budget estimates, current year estimates, budget amended, year-end actuals. There are between 20 and 21 columns of information on here. That is all we're looking for. We are not getting into the nitty-gritty, pennies, dollars, and cents, full-out budget of your entity. We are grabbing 20 to 21 big summary categories. And we're not going to ask you for the payroll for each one of your sections in your agency, your retirement, your Social Security, your health insurance. It's personnel. Okay? We're not going to ask you in this report to break down if you're collecting taxes from real, personal property, and motor vehicle. It's taxes. It's big summary pieces of information. This is as small as we could get the report to cover everybody. I mean, it's as easy as we could make it, essentially, is what it boils down to. Okay? There's a body section where it does break down into more detail. If you submit a budget to anyone and you want to use this as that form, this is what we would recommend using as that budget form. If anyone asks you what's the budget for our entity look like and you've been using the old budget packet, just use this form. This will actually give you the detail as well. And you can see if you don't want to use the workbook, but you want to see how categories match up to your books, you can see the breakdown in here. The gray are the categories. Okay? Anything in white are the specific details that fall within those categories. So intergovernmental revenues, for instance, your very county health department, that is getting the money from the taxing district, that's going to be an intergovernmental revenue. The taxing district is going to report it as the tax. The county health department is going to be reporting as money coming from the taxing district as an intergovernmental revenue. So, I mean, that's a pretty good example for how you can see the difference will apply to a lot of you all in this entity. And there's line 4E says from other districts. And that would be the money you get from them. Okay. So, anything in the body of that report will automatically come over to that summary page if you choose to use it. You can take that summary page and print it out, and that'll give you all the information on what you're going to have to put in our system. Now, at most, 20 to 21 pieces of information. For some of you all, I mean, I'll be honest, I sat down with a volunteer fire department, our very first training in far eastern Kentucky. They had 5 line items. 2 revenues, 3 disbursements, appropriations, that's it. You're only going to use what applies to you. So for most of you all, you probably won't be reporting all 20 or 21 categories, especially if you're not doing a capital project or building something or borrowing money. There's a high likelihood that a lot of you may only be reporting half of this information. Yes, sir?
Matt, I know in our previous conversations, I was thinking that we had discussed that the taxing districts themselves would have to fill out the detailed portion of it, but the health departments would have to do the summary. Am I hearing you say now that the summary is all that will be required to be reported?
Yeah, it's just the 20 to 21 categories. Yep.
Just the summary.
That's all that, yes. We'll go and actually the budget estimates here in a second. You'll see that, I mean, that's it. And that's it. It'll come up as a tax in the summary. So if you go into the actual budget estimates, one of the first things you'll have to do, and again, this is by 15 days into the start of your fiscal year, so July 15th, and you can go in right now and do this if you want. You can put in your budget for the fiscal year. Okay? You're going to have to tell us, do I have a duly adopted budget in place? Well, obviously, our hope is yes. If you're putting in information for the budget, the hope is that your board has already adopted the budget and you're giving us that information. However, for some reason, whatever that may be, it hasn't been adopted yet, you can say no, but you're going to have to give an explanation as to why you're putting in non-adopted budget information. Pretty cut and dry. But I think for the most part, we're all probably going to be saying yes, because we wouldn't be putting in that information otherwise. So this is it. This is identical to the summary page. This is what you're giving the Department for Local Government that's going to go on that public portal. These are the exact 20 to 21 categories of information. So for the health taxing districts, they're probably just going to give us the tax, and they're going to give us a payment out, more than likely. That's really going to be it. I mean, I'm assuming that's all they're doing. You know, for the county health departments, obviously you're going to be showing, if you have a relationship with them, taking that money in, but you probably have some other things going on that you're going to have to report as well. Okay? Does that make sense to everybody? Okay. Everything you do will have 2 forms of verification in our system. Whoever puts in the information, you're going to sign the electronic signature, and that's strictly typing in your name. I am the person that's put that information into the system. Okay? After you've put all your information in, you've typed in your name, you will click Next. Here's the first form of verification. It is literally a verification page that should show the information as you typed it in. If everything looks good, up on the left-hand corner, you're going to click Go to Dashboard. If something looks wrong, this is your opportunity. Back out now. Back out. Okay? The thing with the budget is, because your budget is set, when you put your budget information in, once you go past this screen, it will lock in your budget. Okay? Now, if you have made a big, glaring issue, 100,000 somehow got an extra 0 and it turned into a million, call us. We will hard reset it, and we will get it fixed so you can put the correct information in. If it's something minor, you might want to look at if you can change it. If it's something small, maybe you can change it through your amendment or your line item transfer process, and you might not have to take the time to call us. That's really kind of at your discretion and how big that issue is that you have with that typo or whatever the issue may be. Okay? So if you click on go to the dashboard after this, everything looks good. Here's your second form of verification. You can see now, under budget, it's giving us a date and a name. That is the date that the information was submitted and the name of the person that filled out that electronic signature. So if there's ever something that comes up, rather than calling your entity and trying to search for who did it, we could be able to say, okay, it's Bob, whoever, and we're going to call, we'll ask for him directly, he did the budget. Your username and ID is yours for your entity as a whole. You can give that out to anyone you want to put information into your system for you. So if you have multiple people, maybe someone's doing the budget and you have someone else that's going to be doing the year end, that's your choice. That electronic signature allows us to know if multiple people are doing it. Okay? So we have some entities that said their CPA is probably going to be putting in their year-end financials, or they just have a bookkeeper that's different from the executive director that's doing the budget. Okay? So it's up to you how you want to who you want to let into your system to do what. Okay? That is yours to share or yours to keep. So we've submitted our budget estimates. We're going forward now. You can see the next line has become blue. Enter budget amendments. So now the fiscal year has started. I've done my budget. I have the right up until June 30th to post any amendments into the system. Same form. Same 20 to 21 categories. All you're going to tell us is, has my budget changed during the course of the fiscal year? Did I need to amend anything? Did I need to do any transfers inside these line items? This is what I need to reflect. This is where you reflect it. Now, again, you can do it every week, every month, every quarter, however you want to do it, as long as you are doing it by June 30th of the end of the fiscal year. Now, even if you do not have any amendments or transfers, you still have to go into the system, leave everything zero, sign your name, and click next. Here's why. Because then you are telling us, you are affirming to us that we had no transfers or amendments to our system. It is zeros. Okay, you have to acknowledge that to us. So even if you don't have any, you have to go into the system by June 30th, sign the name, and click next. Okay, you are giving us that acknowledgement that we know we have no amendments or transfers to our budget. Again, you'll get that first form of verification. The number should be the same as you put in the system, now in the middle column. And you can click on the dashboard. Again, second form of verification, the date that it was done and the name. Now, multiple people go in throughout the course of the year. Somebody goes in August and does an amendment, and somebody goes in September. The last person and date to go in will be the one that shows up on the dashboard. Okay, the electronic signature and the date on the dashboard will always override the one before it. So if you do multiple ones, it will always be the last person that went in. Okay? So, we've done our amendments by June 30th. Our budget's done, our amendments are done. Now our year-end actuals, the year's over, we can put in our year-end actuals. We have 60 days from the end of the fiscal year, so September 1st, to show us what actually happened. And again, unaudited figures, same form, same categories, tell us what actually went on, sign it, click next. You get the verification screen. You can click dashboard if everything looks good. Again, you'll get the name and you'll get the date. Now, if you've gone in and you've registered yourself as a with some taxing authority, you have the ability to put in the UFR now, if you choose, if you so choose. Unfortunately, right here, it's already been, it looks like someone's already filled it out, but what it would say would be blank otherwise. The last two lines, the first one is submitting your UFR. The line below that is the information booklet if you have any questions about the UFR itself, what all it entails. Just out of curiosity, who all here has done the UFR in the past? Okay. Here's the thing with the UFR. There is nothing different about the form. The only thing that has changed is if you were doing a paper copy, it is now 100% electronic through the system. If you've been doing it electronically, it's going to be identical. Okay? We have a heading section, which is pulled directly from your registration. And then you're going to have to tell us who's supplying that data. If it's the same person, you can just click on same as district information. It'll automatically fill it out for you. The only thing you're going to have to tell us is the title of the person doing it. No different than the forms in the past. Okay? Tell us the tax information. Right? Revenues. Appropriations. It's the same form, purely electronic. And if you choose to do it and complete it, we will submit it to the Census Bureau on your behalf. Okay? Now, reports. As I mentioned earlier, any report that you provide or you complete will show up on the bottom for you to view. As soon as you do your budget, it'll show up right here. Now, it'll just be the budget column with 2 blank columns. And then when you go in and do your amendments, it'll automatically update itself with 2 columns. And by the end of the year, when you've posted your year end, it'll update itself a 3rd time. But it'll always be for your 2015 fiscal year budget, but it'll build on itself. Again, these are the forms that the public, we're going to be pulling from as PDF versions for the public to see on this public portal. The UFR. The UFR is your information. Okay? If you've submitted a UFR, you have the ability to edit it at any time. Okay, we had someone that called our office not too long ago where she just forgot to do carryover for 3 years in her reports, and she started to panic. The UFR is your document. You can edit it at any time. So if you choose to edit it, you can do so by just clicking on Edit next to the fiscal year that you want to edit. And it's going to bring up your completed UFR, but it's going to give you an amend next to each line. You can pick whatever line needs to be changed that you made a mistake, click Amend, and it'll allow you to change it. Pretty much as simple as that. And then it'll save that new version. So if you have an issue with the UFR, you want to fix it, you can do so as simple as that. So that's actually financial disclosure. That's what it will look like for this first year, for July 1, 2014 through June 30, 2015. And the ball will continue to roll each year thereafter. Another part that's required under the law is an audit or an attestation engagement. We do not have any entities under $100,000, correct? Okay. If you are an entity with annual receipts or expenditures of between $100,000 and $500,000, you have to do an annual audit once every 4 years. If you're more than $500,000, you get an audit done every year. Now, regardless of your entity size, everyone has to do an annual financial statement. And you should have probably already been doing that. You will keep the annual financial statement at your principal location. That is yours. That is not to be sent to DLG. Now, your audits can be conducted by either an independent CPA, or you can contract with the auditor's office if you want. Now, here's what I will say about that. You can reach out to the auditor's office. They're doing counties, they're doing clerks, they're doing sheriffs, or law requires them to do that. They're also doing special investigations whenever something big comes up. They're spread thin. You might be able to get them. More than likely, probably not. So if you have an independent CPA that you're already using that you like, my recommendation would be continue to do so. Okay, but that's obviously your choice. They just have to be an independent CPA that has the ability to do an audit. Okay?
Matt, I had an email question about the amount of receipts. That's not just the taxing district, the taxes, but that's total receipts, correct?
Correct. 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 Yep. And that is one thing. The law doesn't define, and this is something Darren and I have talked about, the law doesn't define annual revenue, annual receipts, annual expenditures. There's probably some things that need to be cleaned up and defined in the law, but right now it says total. It says total annual, the phrase that they continually use. And, I don't know if there's really any gray in there, unfortunately. So, uploading the audit is the same regardless of your type of entity. It's the 3rd column under your account information. All you're going to do is you're going to click on that upload audit. And just so you know, if you are a non-taxing district, you'll see you can't click on UFR, just so you know. It's grayed out. It's not even down here. So again, removing accidental clicks, you can't do it if it's not an option for you. If you go in and log yourself in that way. Okay. You're going to click on Upload Audit. Essentially, you're just going to get a drop-down box. You're going to tell us it's an audit. You're going to tell us for what fiscal year is that audit for. And then you're going to pull an electronic PDF copy off your computer. Has to be a PDF document. Now, obviously, someone's coming in and auditing you already. It's going to be an electronic version. They may give you a paper copy, but they're going to have an electronic version. Ask them for a PDF version. They should be able to supply that to you without any problem. So you'll just have it. You just go in, point, type, click. That's all you're going to do. And it's going to show up again as the date that you submitted that audit to us. Okay? So, and again, over 500,000. And again, these are minimum requirements. If there are more stringent laws in the books for you still, that's what you're going to have to follow. But the law with this just says these are what you're going to have to do for our system and our reporting. Right? So, if you're one of those entities that would only get an audit once every 4 years, but you're getting one every year, my recommendation is go ahead and put your audit on there every year. It just makes you look good at the end of the day. You're going above and beyond what the law says. You're already getting it done. You might as well throw it on there. Okay. All right. I'm going to turn it over to Darren, who is going to speak about noncompliance.
Good afternoon. As he said, or good morning, I should say. As he said, I'm Darren Sammons. I'm the staff attorney at DLG, and I guess nobody likes lawyers, right? Isn't it pretty much the consensus? Yeah, I want you to really pay close attention to just how short my part is. I'm only up here for a little bit because he's the star of the show, and they bring me on, and I think there's a reason for it. I think they keep my part short because nobody likes to hear from the lawyers. It's just, it's kind of a downer for everybody. And in fact, initially I was surprised that they brought me along at all. And I was kind of scratching my head, why am I even part of this? Because, you guys usually don't let me out of my cave to go talk to people. But finally, and it took a few times, I've been to some of these trainings, and finally I realized they bring me along so I can be the bad guy. And so I can deliver bad news because nobody likes me anyway, so, no harm, right? But yeah, there is some bad news for some folks. Generally, for the people who have the interest, like you guys have done, and come out here and you want to learn what's going on, the odds of anybody getting in trouble like this, anyone in this room, I think is very unlikely, or anyone who's watching us elsewhere, I think it's unlikely. I think this is for other groups that haven't shown that kind of interest. And but it is important to know that this law does have some significant teeth to it. And if anyone is wondering, well, maybe we'll just not do it. What's the worst that can happen? I'm here to tell you the worst that can happen. And we've been to a couple places where I've heard some people saying, well, if they haven't sent us a letter, they don't know about us. Let's just, we'll not do anything. No, that's no big deal. Well, unfortunately, it is a very big deal. So I'm here to talk to you about noncompliance. What happens if somebody doesn't do what they're supposed to? And it's did I skip one? Yeah. And there's several categories, ways that people can get in trouble. And it's not something you can easily do, in my opinion. I think you have to almost overtly be trying to not follow the rules. Because if somebody's trying to follow the rules, if they have a question, they can always call us. And we're kind of a rare agency. If you call DLG, you're going to have a person answer the phone. And you can talk to somebody. And if you can't talk to somebody in Matt's department right away, like he said, they're going to call you back within a day, I expect. I haven't heard of anybody taking longer than that to get a response, because that's how they are. They're very squared away. But so here are some ways that districts can get in trouble, or SBGEs can get in trouble. Failure to submit information. All the stuff that Matt has done an excellent job explaining how to submit it. If it's simply not done, that's going to be noncompliance, and that's going to lead to some of these problems I'm here to talk to you about. Submitting information that does not comply with the statute. And and that's going to be something more than just a mere mistake. Matt did a great job telling you guys, hey, if you put in $1 million when you meant 100,000, that's not you're not going to get in trouble for that. Just call us up and we'll fix it, or go in and fix it yourself if you can. So that's not the type of stuff we're talking about. My take on that is that maybe you're somehow trying to not report what you're trying to report. You're reporting something, but it's not accurate. That's kind of the way I take that. Or failure to pay the registration fee. That's huge, because if you don't register, you're not in the system. It's like, if you try to join a gym, you don't pay the membership fee, you're not a member of the gym. So it's the same here. If you don't pay the registration fee, you're not registered, you're not compliant with the law. That's pretty simple stuff. So types of noncompliance and the process. And you'll notice in this process, there's several chances for people to get it right. You have several opportunities to fix it. And I think I like how forgiving it is, because historically it has not been the role of DLG to be the bad guy, and we don't want to be the bad guy. So what happens if a district is non-compliant within 30 days of the non-compliance? We will notify that entity. We'll say, hey, here, you didn't do this, or you did do this, but it was wrong. And probably we would say it was wrong in a big way. From that point, the group has 30 days to fix it, which I would think 30 days, that's a lot of time, especially for something like this. It's going to be pretty simple stuff that I expect you could fix pretty quickly. And then after that 30 days is up, then there's another 15 days before which DLG then will, if we've reached that point, and I can't imagine reaching that point, but if somehow we've reached that point, that final 15 more days, then we'll start the procedure that the law talks about. It kind of sets forth what we have to do at DLG, and it's like everything else in this law. This was a directive from the General Assembly, so we take it very seriously. It's something we've been tasked with. We take our responsibility seriously, and I know you guys do the same thing in your work. But that procedure includes notifying the auditor's office. Let them know, hey, there's an entity out there that maybe they didn't report their financial information after we've reached out to them and told them and given them 30 days. And then it's been another 15 days, still nothing. So we'll tell the auditor's office about that. And I think you can imagine the auditor's office probably will not be very happy with a group that's just continuing to buck the system. We would also notice the establishing entity. So if it's a group that is organized by county government, we would notify that county government, the fiscal court, the judge executive, any state level oversight agency. I think you guys know who that is for you guys. And also the finance and administration cabinet. What happens if you're not compliant? What's the worst that can happen? Well, in some ways, I think this first one could be the worst for some people. All state funds will be withheld. I don't know anybody that's getting state money that says, okay, whatever, we don't care. We'll be fine without it. That for some groups, that's the end of the road right there. The next one, I think we have another slide where I'll talk more about this in a little more detail, is the what I call the public shaming provision, where we would have to post in the local newspaper the name of this group and some more information we're going to get to, I think. They didn't do the right thing. So your local community is going to know you're not in compliance. And I think that's huge too. That to me, that would be all the motivation I would need to make sure I was on top of this stuff. And then there's a possible audit or special examination by the auditor's office at the expense of the entity that is causing the problems. So, and I can tell you, and something we hear a lot is audits are expensive, and you guys know how expensive they can be. So that's not great news. So 45 days after a group is notified, if all of this time it still hasn't been fixed, then we're going to get into these shaming provisions that I like to talk about. So this is, again, after multiple chances. Here's what happens, what this publication is going to include. It's going to have the name of the entity. So like such and such health department. Then a statement that it didn't do what it's supposed to do. Such and such health department did not comply with the law by reporting its financial information, something like that. We'd find some way to make it sound more lawyerly, I'm sure, but it would be something to that effect. And then the names of the board members. Names of the board members. And if I were on a board and something like this got reported in my local paper, I'd make certain that was the last time it ever happened. I'd make sure my name didn't show up like that again. Name and contact information for that group's point of contact. So if you're concerned citizens, I'm sure some of you out there may have at least one or two concerned citizens out there who like to keep up with these things. They may reach out and say, what's going on? Why didn't you guys report? They're going to have a real good opportunity to do that. And then any other information that we think may be helpful or important for the public to know about any group that is not doing what they're supposed to do. And there are some other penalties too. And this one, if all this other stuff doesn't scare you enough, which I can't imagine, but if that's not scary enough, there's what I call the nuclear option, which is administrative dissolution. A group that just continues to not comply with the law can just be administratively dissolved. It will no longer exist as an entity. And that's, that's it. So this is serious stuff. It's bad news. And so if you know of any groups, I'm not talking about your peers who do similar work, any entity that you think may be an SPGE, if they're not registered, if they're not reporting, you may need to warn them that this could be bad stuff, that they really need to contact us. And if they try to do it right, we'll make sure that we can help them out to let them do the right thing. Well, I hope not. Hope not. And I think, like I said, my part's really short. They don't let me out much. So that's it. Thank you.
Code of ethics. Whether you know it or not, you are going to be subject to a code of ethics if you're not already. I'm guessing probably most of us are already, but we do have some entities out there that have, like I said, they've never submitted budget, never done audits. You can imagine they don't have a code of ethics. So with this law, essentially what it says is you're subject to the code of ethics of your establishing entity unless you choose to adopt one that's more stringent. Now, if you're created by the county, you're under the county's code of ethics. Created by the city, you're under the city's. If you're created by an interlocal agreement with a lot of those entities, you get to choose which one you want to fall under. If you were created by the citizens and you have no establishing entity, you're going to fall under the county in which your principal office is located. Now again, you always have the right to have your own code of ethics as long as it's more stringent than your establishing entity. Now, if you want to know what the code of ethics are for your establishing entity, you can go on our website, and under FM&A, there's actually a section for legal, a little bit further down. You click on legal, there's a section for ethics ordinances. Click on that, there's two drop-down boxes, one for counties and one for cities. You can pull up all 120 counties' ethics ordinances. And we have about 90% of the cities up there. We have the last 10% in paper. We're just trying to convert them into PDF and get them on. So you can see the code of ethics for any county or city. And so if you want to know who you fall under, I'll be honest, you can blow dust off of some of them. They're so old. It's amazing. Okay, but if you want to know, you can find a copy there. Right? If you choose, or you have your own code of ethics right now, or choose to adopt one, you need to send it to us. Email it, mail it, if you haven't already done so. If you choose to adopt your own, or at any point you amend the one you currently have, you have 21 days to get a copy to our office so we can keep an updated one on there. And we are going to be putting on that ethics ordinance page, just like the other counties and cities, we're going to be creating a drop-down box for SPGEs to put their ethics ordinances on there as well. So that way if someone from the public says, what's their ethics ordinance? They can't find you there. They should be able to look at your registration and see who your establishing entity is, and by default go and look at those ethics ordinances and believe that you should fall under theirs. One thing I do like to share at this point, it is KRS 65.003, and why I reference that. There is a section in that law that talks about financial disclosure. And when I talk about financial disclosure here, I'm talking about the personal financial disclosure a lot of times that are found in the ethics ordinances of county and cities. That is literally giving what your personal financial information is. 65.003 has a section in it, and I apologize, I can't remember the subsection off the top of my head, that says special purpose governmental entities, board members, employees, and it gives some other people that would work for or be a part of, are not subject to the financial disclosure provisions of the ethics ordinances unless they adopt more stringent ethics ordinances that require it. So your board members, you all as employees, even if you were a part of the city or county's ethics ordinance, are not subject to that financial disclosure provision in the law. You do not have to give your personal financial information. You're exempt from that. And I know that's been a big deal because we have had some board members, I've had entities call and say, my board members, they all volunteer, and they all said they will quit if they have to give this information. I can't say as I blame them. I mean, and there's people that volunteer to do the work at some of these SPGs, and they've said, why do people need to know that? And I don't blame them. So if you have that concern, understand there is an exemption in the law in 65.003 that they don't have to do that. Yes, sir.
I assume that most of us were created either by state law or by county, and so we're going to fall under the county one way or the other. And I assume the county codes of ethics are all over the board. They're not more consistent code of ethics that all the counties adopt, right? Okay. So
I mean, you're going to see a lot of similarities, but yeah, there are going to be some provisions in some areas that might be more strict than others.
And the state is the one that appoints our county board members. And there's some that's judged automatically on it, but 10 of our 12 board members are appointed by the state.
Appoints 1,440 of them.
Okay, 1,440. So before the state appoints a board member, do they need to be aware of the code of ethics of the local county? Because they might appoint someone that's not in compliance with that. I mean, the code of ethics in the county could be more stringent than any. You know what I'm getting at?
You're saying, should people being appointed be aware of the code of ethics that they're going to be falling under?
The state is doing the appointing. Be aware of the local board's code of ethics so they don't appoint someone that's not in compliance with the county's code of ethics.
I don't know, Darren, I mean.
Can you give an example of what you mean?
Well, I'm just thinking about, and the word's not coming to me, like, if you're a board member, you can be a board member and your spouse can work for the health department. What's the word I'm looking for?
Nepotism.
Nepotism, okay. There's no prohibition against that, but a county code of ethics could have some sort of prohibition against that. And the state then, they could appoint someone that it violates the local county code of ethics.
Yeah, I mean, I could see that as being a concern. Obviously, I mean, then it becomes, Darren, you want to?
Yeah. I would say, and one thing that Matt mentioned to you, that there's over 1,000 statutes in Kentucky. That's not hyperbole. There's literally over 1,000 statutes in Kentucky that deal with special districts, special purpose governmental entities. So some of the ins and outs and particular questions you may have are going to be new to us. As far as how the board members are appointed and who knows what and how they do things and all that, I don't know the specifics. Obviously, if someone is going to take some action that could have a legal effect, they should be aware of the repercussions and whether it's proper. So if that's done at the state level, then sure, I guess the state should know if there's going to be a problem.
Well, to me, I mean, there's times when my board members are appointed where it looks like this isn't the best decision because of nepotism or conflicts of interest of some sort. You know, I mean, it might be that an installer that we have to go and regulate applies to be a board member and they get appointed as a citizen member even though, how they're going to be governing some of this, that's, we're going and inspecting, and so the county code may be stricter when it comes to conflicts of interest and nepotism and so forth.
I think you'll find that most ethics codes have some provision for making a complaint or reporting a possible problem. So it could be kind of a self-correcting process. If somebody is appointed who shouldn't have been, there's a way to address that probably within the code itself. Otherwise, I expect it would be proper to reach out to the appointing agency and say, hey, were you guys aware of this? That's where we kind of rely on people to kind of just do what they know to be correct. That's kind of beyond the scope of DLG's involvement. In fact, this whole code of ethics thing, I think Matt likes to talk about because it is part of the new law, and just to be comprehensive, we cover it, but it's really not something that affects us to a great deal. Yes, sir.
Been a public servant for nearly 50 years, and when potential conflict of interest hits the agenda, I leave the room. Like being on a board of a hospital association, and they're planning their political campaign, and I'm the public health commissioner, and I gotta leave the room. Come back when it's over, and that works most of the time.
And that may be the case. Whether that's going to be permissible is probably going to be subject to the terms of a particular code of ethics. If it allows for that, that may be okay too. It's just we have there's 120 counties, and arguably there's 120 codes of ethics. Like Matt said, there's a lot of provisions that are going to be the same from one to another. So it's hard to just stand up here and predict all the problems that could arise. But naturally, we expect everybody to be diligent and do the right thing. I'm sure everybody will. Yes, ma'am.
The board will have an opportunity, some provisions where they recuse themselves from any votes that have to do with conflict of interest.
I'm sorry?
They would recuse themselves from any conflict of interest votes.
And if their code allows that sounds fine to me. Sure.
I have nothing wrong with that.
Okay.
You talked about our username and password, which we did receive and registered for our public health taxing district. What about the health department itself? Did you say we're going to have another username?
Yeah, when you register, it's its own entity, so it'll get its own entity ID and
Does that username and password that it might have to use?
Yes.
Then if you did register your public health taxing and paid the fee last year, do we have to repay for the 2014 fiscal year?
Good question. This is going to cover you for your 14-15 fiscal year reporting.
And there's no fee for the health department entity itself. That's just for our taxing district.
We do have some health departments that stand alone. There are some that will have to pay the fee, but there are 46 that will not. The way that we are working with this. Saw a couple. Sorry, I saw her in first.
We adopted a code of ethics for our board of health.
Mm-hmm.
Since the health department is registering as a separate entity, do we have to have a separate code of ethics for the health department?
They are their own SPGE. They have to have their own code of ethics.
But the Board of Health has governance over both entities.
I would just have both entities adopt that as a code of ethics. It don't be different, but I would just take some action to say this is our code of ethics. Yes, ma'am.
So the fee we've already paid, that was actually for fiscal year 2014.
Yeah, you're moving forward. You're good to go. No. If you've already paid your fee, you're good to go in. If you've paid your fee, whether you've paid it back in December or you've paid it yesterday, you will be good to move forward with the 14-15 reporting.
Okay.
Yes, essentially it covered 18 months this first time.
Okay.
So you're not going to be getting hit with another one. You all will not.
But we'll need to pay for 2016 by December 13th.
Yes, when you go into the yes, it'll come into that. Now you won't have to pay it. You could sit on it until you have that 6-month gap to sit on it until July 15th of 2015, and so you go in and put your 15-16 information in.
But we have to register by December 13th.
You register annually, yeah, but you don't have to pay at that time.
But we just register.
You'll be in the system. It'll tell you. It's gonna tell you what you're gonna have to do. And here's the other thing I want to share. When you go into your registration and you verify your name, if you do nothing else for me, do this. Check your email addresses. And here's why I asked that. We sent emails to 1,500 entities about the trainings we've been doing at all the area development districts. We got 59 kicked back. Now, 59 out of 1,500 is not a bad rate, but you have to realize those are 59 different entities that did not know about the training. And all 59 of those entities typed in their own email address and sent it to us. Now, we're working on it right now as we speak, creating an email blast system. And the first one we hope will go out July 1, and it's going to say something. It's going to go to the email addresses, the 2 email addresses you've given us in your registration, There's a data supplied by a contact. So if you have the ability to put in 2 separate email addresses, there's going to be email blast that goes out. And the first one is hopefully going to go out July 1 that says, reminder, you have to pay your registration fee and you have to have your budget submitted by July 15th. June 15th, we hope to have an email. The goal is to have it go out a couple weeks prior that says, heads up, you have until June 30th to post your amendments. Middle of August, heads up, you've got until September 1st to do your year end. Yes, sir.
Did you say that email blast will only goes to the ones that are not compliant?
No, we're going to send that email blast to everyone as a reminder to hope that we can get compliance, keep compliance up.
I hate being reminded of things I've already done.
I love it because you can just delete the email and say, oh, I'm done.
But the problem with that is we got so much stuff to do, I don't like to remember what I've done. I have to look it up and figure out if I've done it.
And then all 2 counties are forward to members county.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, for the non-taxing district counties, they still need to fill out a budget, even though we have no clue as to what the county is spending that money on?
Everyone is going to have to register. Everyone is going to have to do financial disclosure. The question is, do you have to pay the registration fee? And you're only going to report what your entity is doing. So if the health taxing district is only collecting a tax and only sending it to the county health department, that's what they're reporting. They're only going to have 2 lines if that's the case. Now, your county health department, you're going to show the receipt of that tax money as intergovernmental revenue, anything else you're collecting that falls within the categories, and anything else you're appropriating and spending. So really the question isn't, every entity is an SPGE under the law. So every entity is going to have to register, every entity is going to have to do financial disclosure. The question is, are you subject to the registration fee? And there's 61 of the 180 entities that will not be. Everything else is going to be the same for everybody. You're reporting what your entity is doing financially. Yes, ma'am.
I was in one of the local trainings, and was it understood that perhaps we would still have to publish a year-end financial statement for paper or a link?
I will get to that right here. Actually, that's going to come up in 2 slides. Okay. You're good. You're good. You're ahead of the game. Yes, ma'am.
I just want to make sure I'm clear on this. If we've adopted the county code of ethics, and that's the one we use, then we don't need to send you anything.
We've already got it. We don't need it.
Just want to make sure.
It's if you have adopted your own that we need a copy. Yes, ma'am.
Let's have a quick question. Okay, I've registered our 4 taxing districts. We've paid our fees. You're saying that we have to go in and register our 4 health departments as well.
Yes.
If we're a district and the tax dollars are coming into our district, how do we register the county when our district does the budget for the 4 counties?
I'm not following. We probably. Yeah. Yeah.
We're not going to do the county.
The county health department.
We're going to do district.
Correct.
That's what I'm asking.
Correct. Yes. Yes.
If I've got 4 county health departments and 4 health taxing districts, I've already done the taxing district, or the public health taxing district, and paid the fees. I'm not gonna register my 4 individual health departments, I'm gonna register our district.
You have a regional district?
Yes.
Yeah, it's the region.
Okay.
Yes. Okay. Some common questions we've been getting. Do I still have to submit a budget to fiscal court? Have any of you all ever had to submit a budget to fiscal court by June 1st? I don't know if this applies to any of you all. Okay. Well, now with this law, because you're submitting everything online, you don't have to do that anymore. You are submitting it by June 1st solely for them to have it and to send it to us by July 1st. So we had it by the start of your fiscal year. And then your county clerk usually got a copy. In case anyone from the public wanted to come and look at it, they could look at them at the county clerk's office. That's it. Now, because you're doing all of this online, the public portal is going to be created. You don't have to do that anymore. Okay? The only exemption to that is there are some entities out there that have a financial relationship with counties, and there's still laws in the books that say you have to submit it to them. Soil conservation conservation districts are one of those, but I don't think that applies to any of you all in here. Okay? My annual financial statement. Okay, as we said earlier, everyone's got to do an annual financial statement. And also, you had to publish it. Well, there's a nice little section 65A 082, and it's subsection 080 subsection 2 that essentially says now, instead of what used to be in 424-220, which was all that financial statement publication requirement, 60 days after the close of your fiscal year, which just so happens to nicely match up with that September 1st date that they were using for the year end, you have to publish the location where your adopted budget, financial statements, and most recent audit or attestation engagement reports may be examined by the public. So now, so that big, long piece of information, and I think you'd even do your board members and things like that, now you can say, such and such entity, you can find this, this, and this by going here. So this big, long thing can now be a couple sentences. Yes, ma'am. Correct. Everything with this is for your 14-15 fiscal year. Everything with this is for 14-15 fiscal year. So now you can essentially, you're going to be able to just a couple sentences. All right. Our recommendation has been your physical location, or there's nothing that says if you don't have a website that you can put these documents on a PDF version, you can't direct them to your website. Now, I would love to say you can direct them to DLG's website and the public portal. The problem is we don't have your financial statements. So that's a little issue with that. Now, of course, we'll have your adopted budget. We'll have your most recent audit as long as you've submitted it to us and followed the law, but we don't have your financial statement. So, simple little blurb, us entity. You can find this, this, and this by going here. It's one of the few nice things in the law because it will be a significant cost savings. Can be, depending upon what all you've been publishing. Because not only can they look at that information, they're going to be able to look at your our website, they can look at your registration and get your board members. So your board members, that's going to be public out there on our website anyway.
But they do have one last time that they have to supplement their financial.
This current fiscal year that you are in, yes. Everything with this law is effective July 1/14, so it's a 14-15 fiscal year. So this is going to be all June 30th, 15 ending. Okay? So you need to keep doing what you're doing for your current year that you're living in. I know. I've been calling people, trust me, because I was corrected. So, because actually, KRS 65A080 subsection 2 has a March 14th effective date. But the amendment to 424-220 has the date that she just amended. So imagine that. A couple laws are conflicting with each other. Right? Yeah. Never happens. Never happens. So. And that is it. Are there any other questions that we can answer? I'll leave a stack of business cards if anyone would like one. Please give us a call if you have any questions, get into the process. Do me a favor, check your name and your registration. If you have that list and you know you're one of the exempted entities, once you've got the name correct, give me a call. We'll get that exemption process so you can go in and start working on getting your information in so you don't have to worry about the payment. Okay? Yes, ma'am.
It's probably not one you all can answer. It's probably one that Kay would have to answer. Last year, they started on crosswalk in the budget. For a district budget information into that, is that still in process, or do we just transition that ourselves?
I pretty much got the crosswalk done for the summer financial statement. So what I'll try to do is just create a macro where it'll add a sheet to your bud form and send that out.
Very nice.
I'm not going to promise me that. I'll do it before July 15th.
Any other questions in for Matt there? Again, we greatly appreciate them coming out here today, and one of the advantages, as I was talking to these gentlemen beforehand, I'm old school. I know we can do a lot through these video screens, but you've got two people right here, two faces, that you know the people to go to. You know, I always joke in Clark County, I just quit becoming the new Lynn Midden here. I've been there 8 years, and they just stopped calling me the new Lynn Midden. So this is the new Gary Oldham. So, you know, for a lot of us, this is Gary here now.
Glenn.
I
Only Gary.
Glenn Oldham here. So this Matt here, and so then Darren. So, but know these guys, they've been great to work with. I know Randy and I have been over there to their office and their shop working with them a lot on this stuff. So again, thanks to you guys for being here. We appreciate it so much. And I'm sure you'll be hearing from us. Okay.
Thank you guys.
Thank you. Thank you all very much.
We're going to take a break here, so we'll be back on ITV. We'll be back in 15 minutes, please. Thank you. You'll notice, you know, today we're dispensing with a lot of the normal stuff we do with treasurer's report, minutes, all that stuff. We're just tabling that to next month due to time constraints. But there is one thing I would like to do. We had the special elections and the results of the special elections. I would like to congratulate the new Vice President, Ms. Thursa Sloan, the new East Region Representative, Mr. Chris Crum, and the representative for the Independent Health Department's Rice Leach. So, with the special election here, those will be new representatives on the Executive Committee, and we look forward to the ideas and everything that they'll bring to kHDA here. So thank you all very much for agreeing to serve. Next item on our agenda is strategic planning updates. So Ms. Georgia, I'm going to turn it over to you.
All right, I'm not going to kill you with PowerPoint because I let my jump driver home. So I do have something very nice to send out to you, though, that has all the aim statements on it. If you'll recall, I've been emailing back and forth, and I put kind of all the aim statements in a way that they sort of look the same. So that's what I'm going for. I want to get everybody's ideas, everybody's action plans, everything that you're getting ready to do and you're working on, and put it in some kind of consistent manner so that when we take it to the governor or whoever we take it to and say, this is what we need to do, this is how it needs to be paid for, it'll all look the same. So that's what I'm going for. But you'll have all kinds of input on that. I will send that out every chance I get, probably until you're sick of it. But I will continue to send it out. It's very near, not these papers, but the strategic plan and foundational capabilities is very near and dear to my heart. And I truly, truly believe that any of us that are working in public health, this is it. This is what's going to happen in our careers. This is how we are going to change public health, because we all know it is not working like it is. It's not working in Kentucky. It's not working across the country either. We've went into many, many different directions. We've done a lot of great things in little pockets here and there, and we've made some people healthier and some people happier. We've made a lot of people not happy and a lot of people broke. So we have to do something different. We have to take our resources and apply them such that we can get the best bang for our buck. So we have to decide, what is that exactly? What is that? What do we want our citizens to have? And then, once we decide that, how are we going to pay for it? Is it going to be locally? Is it going to be state? Is it going to be federal? Is it going to be a combination? Or how is that going to work? We can no longer just hang around waiting to have things done to us. So don't we all feel like we've had a lot done to us at many different levels? Some of it could probably not been helped because other people at those levels are getting things done to them too. And even if we cannot get a document that's perfect, or we cannot even get what we want, at least we should know what it is that we need to have. We need a document that says, this is what public health is, this is what kind of quality of life people should have, and this is what we should be willing to pay for. And we should be willing to walk in front of a group of legislators and say, we elected you, this is what we want. Find a way to pay for it. And back it up wholeheartedly, be able to say that. Now, everything that's on this paper, I'll have to talk about this paper a little bit. This is not the foundational capabilities paper that the foundational capabilities work group, which is my work group, this is not our paper. Ours is still a work in progress because we're going through a very meticulous series of looking at the different things that we ought to be doing, costing them out, using a very elaborate spreadsheet that was developed by some of the most brilliant public health minds in the country of how to do this. Kentucky lucked into at the last minute getting to be a part of a study that will be, many things will be published, at least one paper will be in our peer-reviewed journal. But we talked about how we looked at what we should be doing in public health and what they're going to cost us and how we're going to pay for it. So maybe it's going to cost us so much we can't pay for it, but we'll have to pick and choose. If we want this much, it'll cost us this much. It's all the money we got, then this is the best we can do. But we have to have a plan for how we're going to do that and how we're going to get there. We will be producing a document by December 31st. The Foundational Capabilities Work Group will be that many people have spent a lot of time going through. We have talked about it. We've talked about what does assessment mean, who does assessment, how many people does that take, how many FTE, how much does it cost to keep the electric bill on. I mean, we're looking at the true cost of public health. For years and years, the way we've looked at it is, if you're a nurse and you did 10 pap smears, then you got $1,500, whatever it was. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We can count that. All right, good. Everybody in this room, our salary was like indirect. Y'all don't really matter. It's just this person that's doing this thing who can count that somebody at DPH and somebody at the federal level will give us money for. Those are the only people that count. The problem with that is it takes a whole infrastructure of other people to make that happen. And we have let that dwindle away to nothing. So now, what do we have? We have a lot of providers that could do a lot of services, but no infrastructure for them to do it in. No infrastructure, nothing. So we have to get that back. We have to be willing to say, we are worth, public health professionals, we are worth the fight. It is worth it for us to have bricks and mortar in every county across the state where if you go into that facility, you are able to get a service that is equal to a service that you can get in another county. I don't know what that looks like yet exactly, but that's what we're working on. We do have to figure that out, and it'll probably evolve over time, but we have to move in that direction, and that's what this strategic plan is about. So this piece is what you got emailed to me 2 or 3 times yesterday, I think. I will say this was a effort on the behalf of Dr. Humbaugh is on my foundational capabilities. Don't think that we don't give him hell on a regular basis. So anyway, he knows what's going on. This was an attempt by the state to say, we got to get a budget done, we got to get something done, we got to get it going for this fiscal year, and here it is, and this was based on work Dr. Davis did, and here you go. This has not been through the same process, although some of the terminology on there is reflective of some of the IOM work, but this is not the same document that the Foundational Capabilities is working on. So this is a different document. It's not a bad document, but it is not the one that we are working on, and it's not complete yet. So that will be coming on down the road. That being said, we have 4 public health functions, 10 essential services, foundational capabilities. Those phrases, they really mean something to me. They mean something. Yes. Think about what's the difference between a myocardial infarction and a heart attack. You know, one probably sounds smarter than the other one, but they're basically the same thing. I don't think that you can interchange core functions and foundational capabilities. Those things are not interchangeable to me. Everybody know about derby pie, how that is? No, you don't go around calling your pecan pie derby pie. You get sued 50 times for doing that. So I think that we need to all speak the same language. And beyond speaking the same language, we're going to have to be on the same team. Same team. Whether we want to be or not, we're going to have to. Because we're stronger together, and it takes everything that's going on at the state, it takes everything that's going on the local level. We're going to have to do it together. We're going to have to do it together. Other piece of that is, nobody's going to pay any attention to us if we're not. if the locals are over here and the state's over here, legislators are gonna be like, "Whew, we even need any of y'all." So we need to be a united front, knowing what it is that we need to do and what we want to do, and that we want to make this state a better place to live. So that's what the strategic plan is all about. That's a little refresher course. That's much better than what my little PowerPoint thing had everybody's aim statement on, which they look really good, by the way. What you'll get in addition to that is now a way to break that down. So if your project is, you are going to produce a paper, which is what my group is going to do, the foundational capability paper, then you have how are you going to do that? Who's going to do which sections? And you lay down some timelines and you put some specifics. So what we want is to be able to show if I've got 2 minutes in the elevator with a legislator, whether he's in Frankfurt or he's in D.C., I won't be able to talk about something that makes some sense and resonates a little bit. If it's somebody that really, really likes data, I want to hand them a book. Look here, we've looked at everything. I know how much it costs to turn on the electric bill in the health department in Kentucky. I mean, so we need to have all the data that's out there, so we know where we're headed, why we're headed there, and that this work is wildly important. I think it's the best time to be in public health ever, and I'm very happy to be here as a part of it if it doesn't kill me. So I will say that. So I do get very excited about it. So if you need somebody to get you going and get you excited, revived about it, just call me up someday. Come see me, I'll come see you, and we'll get going on it. So if there are any questions I can answer about any of this, I'd be happy to do it.
Okay, thanks, Georgia, very much for, we know your enthusiasm for the strategic plan is great, and we appreciate that because we need great enthusiasm right now as we move forward. The comment about, united, the power we have, I was at a meeting the other day in Clark County, and a lot of you were involved. We all talked about the attempt by the PVAs to levy a fee on special taxing districts this past year. And during the legislative session, how we united, we came together and worked very hard and got that proposal defeated. Well, the wife of the executive director of the PVA Association is the PVA for Clark County. And she came to me at a Rotary meeting and said, we would really, PVAs looking forward to the next biennium budget, we realize that if we want to be successful in anything we do to see about getting more revenue for us, we need to engage you all as a partner. And so it made me feel really good and proud of our association. We're being seen, okay, now wait a minute here. So someone now has this perception of us as Kentucky Health Department Association, our group of directors, public health taxing districts here, that if they're going to be successful to get legislation, they want us on the front end helping to develop that and work to get that passed and see us as a friend now. So I think, again, elevating, we've always, you're used to say that health departments were the best kept secret in the state. Well, we're no longer a secret. People know we're here, and where they either want to enlist us as the friend or we're going to be a target. So we have to realize that, and we have to be very smart in utilizing and leveraging our combined power here with the health department, Department of Public Health, and so on. So again, thanks to everyone for all you do each and every day. Ms. Shelley Adams is going to now talk to us about the patient surveys for local health departments. So thanks, Shelley, for being here.
I'll keep it brief. Good morning, everyone. It's nice and cool in here, isn't it? I wanted to give you all an update on the patient surveys that many of you participated in, and just give you just a brief overview of that and mention a couple other things. We had 23 local health departments and 8 districts participate in the patient survey, and we did distribute a Hispanic version, and that went out a couple days after the fact, but some health departments actually did another round and added it to what they were already doing, and I really, really appreciate it. It has just given us scads of information. It did in our needs assessment in 2010, and it's going to again for 2015. We had about 3,300 plus surveys received from health departments and from the Commission for Children with Special Health Care Needs. And what I want to highlight for you today is to let you know that we are going to be providing each health department who participated an overview for your particular area. If it's a very small number, however, we may group it into a region, but we want to give you some specific feedback that may be useful for you all. I did encourage the people who were in charge of collecting the surveys to make copies so that you could take a look at what's happening now in your health departments according to your patients to see if that might be helpful to you in your planning. So 2 questions stuck out to us, and I just wanted to give you some insight into that. The first one, we asked for them to pick 2 health problems that you think often affect women in your area. Well, the top 5 responses were overweight, obesity, drug or marijuana use, feeling down or hopeless, women who smoke, and secondhand smoke. Interestingly, from the 2010 survey, it was obesity, depression, drug or marijuana use, pregnancy and health-related problems related to pregnancy, and women who smoke. So a lot of similarities there, which lets us know that, yes, we still have a lot of work to do. We still have more education to provide. But it's interesting to know that, you know, things didn't come in from left field that we totally weren't expecting. Now, some consistent things with this first question were domestic violence and abuse, mental health, poverty, hepatitis C, drug use and abuse. So I want you to remember the drug use piece because it seems to be a recurring thing. The second question was, pick 2 health programs that you think often affect babies and children in your areas. So the top answers there were secondhand smoking, child abuse or neglect, babies born too early, not putting infants and children in a car or booster seat, and overweight and obesity. In comparison to the 2010 survey, the top responses at that time were secondhand smoking, child abuse, not putting infants in car seats, obesity, low birth weight, and preterm infants. One of the things that really stood out, though, as they are still processing these responses, is there was a strong emphasis about drug use, especially under the infant and child category. And many of you know that we're really working strongly to look into neonatal abstinence syndrome and issues related to that. So this is a very important piece that's coming up, and it's going to be highlighted for quite some time, I'm sure. We are also going to be having a stakeholder meeting in the fall, and we're still working on who that's going to include, but I'm sure that the health departments will be a part of that. It's going to be, I think, November 19th, so you might want to just keep that date in the back of your mind. Well, we're going to drill down on these issues that we get from the patient surveys. So again, we will be sharing more information with individual health departments toward the end of the summer, hopefully, and we want to develop individual fact sheets on each of these areas. I also wanted to let you know that we are going to be doing MCH coordinator focus groups in the fall. And our time frame for these is probably going to be mid-September through mid-October predominantly, with a couple of stray dates beyond that if people can't participate. I am going to be sending out an email. I'll also send a copy of this sheet that I was talking about to you all. But I want to send an email to your nurse leaders, MCH coordinators, and to you all to let you know about this upcoming event. We are going to be asking for volunteers to host these focus groups. We want to have no more than 8 around the state and have them strategically located in the various regions. So I'm going to send that out. We are going to allow funds from the 766 cost center to be used for ladies and gentlemen to travel to these. The groups will be kept small, no more than 8 per focus group. And we also are going to be asking those that choose to host to try to locate a court reporter so that we can get accurate, consistent recordings of the information that is brought up during these focus groups. we are also going to be providing some funding for that. So we want to eliminate cost for you all and still have you on board. So be looking for that. Are there any questions that I can answer real quick? Okay. Thank you all very much for your time, and thank you for helping us so much.
Now it's time for our partners from DPH. Dr. Watson.
I'm jumping up in front because I'm going to have to leave here in a minute to go to Louisville. Dr. Langfield has the MCO meet once a month, and I'm going to be talking to him. It's WellCare Customer Care is getting this public health dental hygienist program. We've gotten to find a signature from them on that. We've gotten it renewed. We just aren't too old ones, so I'm going to kind of do a face-to-face and not argue to you when send you the notification that you are going. Couple of things.
Dr. White, can you close to the microphone?
And I mentioned this to Scott. There's a CDC opportunity to do a $5,000 training online for, you get $5,000, you don't pay $5,000, for online worksite wellness. I know some of you.
Excuse me, can you please get closer to the microphone?
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Can you get closer? Thank you.
Okay, so this is a CDC opportunity, $5,000 for a wellness training program. Some people are wanting to do some wellness in their community, so you might want to do something like this for your own individual health department, and we'll have Scott send that out. Another issue that came up, and I apologize for not getting back with you, Linda, about WellCare has come to some of y'all about wanting to do health fairs, and they'll pay you to do a health fair, and how much should you charge for a health fair? I would suggest y'all get together and come up with a price. So that way this county says, well, I'll do it for $200, and then you find out somebody 3 counties over got paid more for it. I think that's what I would do because I don't think we have a clue as to what that suggestion should be. So if y'all want to do that and somebody wants to pay you to do that and you have the time and think it's a need in your community, that's up to you guys to do. Scott, I want to make sure I don't forget anything. There is a person from Humana, and when Ron comes in a little bit later, you can probably ask him. Oh, there you are. I'm sorry. The Humana lady, that's a terrible, I don't know who this one, I can't remember the lady's name. But evidently Humana has some type of a product that they want to contract with health departments to do for those that are doing clinical services, and they pay nurses. And she acted like this has been something that's been going on forever. And I was not aware of it. Nobody else seemed to be aware of it. So she wanted to come and talk to kHDA. Well, I was not comfortable inviting her. This is your party, and I'm a part of it, but I didn't feel like I could invite people to come. I don't know if y'all, that's something that you'd be interested in hearing. Should we send that out as an email? So let me know what you want, and we'll put you in contact. If just an individual health department says, just send me information, we can do that. So, yes, ma'am.
What is it?
It's kind of like they want to contract with you to do services for their clients that have this certain type of Humana. And I said, well, I don't think that the health departments will be interested in doing that because most of them have nurses and you don't pay nurses. Oh, yeah, we do it just like the Medicaid program pays nurses to do services. And I said, well, I'm uneducated on that. So that's an option out there. I know WellCare has been talking to some of the counties about doing some contracting with you guys, so that's obviously for your own local community to decide on, so we can get that information to you, and whether you want it as an email or you actually want somebody to come and talk with you. Could y'all hear that? I know you couldn't. The question was, in the past you haven't been able to do health fairs as a health department by doing blood pressure checks and those kinds of checks, unless you've got some place to refer that person to. You can't take a blood pressure and say, oh, you're about ready to have a stroke. Here's the phone book. So the deal is, as long as you've got someone who has agreed to say, if you've got patients that have an abnormality that you find at a health fair, you've got some kind of process in place to get them to somebody for treatment. That's the big important piece. Okay. All right. Thank you. Like I said, Dr. Langfield's going to be texting me to leave, and so I don't mean to rush, but I want to be sure that we get to school nurses. That is not, y'all got the email that I sent out about what's happening with Gateway. That is not a done deal. And I was hoping before I let you guys know about this, I could actually have something in writing that it's all taken care of, and it's not. There's still language that's being worked on as to be sure that this is done legally, because I know that's been a concern. So I want to go through the questions that I've gotten by email, so I didn't respond because I figured I would talk to everybody today. While someone is contracted with you, then they would be your employee during that time that you've contracted them. And my example is when I was working for White, Scott & Kenner, my practice that I was in, it was incorporated, I was hired by the health department to come over, and if it was Monday afternoon, I was doing family planning clinic. And I followed I didn't know I was following Title 5-10 regulations. I just did whatever Margaret told me to do, and Peggy Ware and the folks that came before me. And so if there was a way I was going to normally do something in my office, they'd say, oh, no, you have to do it this way. They paid me by the hour, and they billed, and I never saw any of that. So while I was their contracted employee. So that's the way the language in the contract will read. So hopefully that will get around some of the past concerns that we've had. The special training, they're absolutely right. Part of in that contract will say that they're going to give permission for the health department to make sure that these nurses have all the appropriate training to do all the preventive medicine programs that we are doing right now. They must follow the CCSG, and that is correct. That will also be in the contract. And so these employees would be under the supervision of the health department. So they would be functioning just as they are right now. They would just be contracted that time, but they would follow our guidelines. In communities, we're not going out recruiting this to happen. Somebody emailed me and said, can you help make this happen? And I looked at it and said, well, if there's a legal way we can do it, why can we not make it happen? So I beat up on Medicaid and say, tell me why this would not be legal. And the Office of Legal Services up in the Cabinet Secretary's office, and nobody could say why it would be illegal as long as we were not doing some kind of slush fund pass-through. Are those the right legal terms? I know those aren't legal terms, but so as long as it's worded in a certain manner, it can be legal, and that's what we're going. We had one conference call with their attorney, and we got a copy of the contract, and it had some language in it that we didn't feel was in the best interest of the health department, so we've sent that back. So this may not happen, but this is the process that we're working on right now. The coding would be the same coding that we would be doing right now if they were working out of the health department. So the recommendations for that doesn't change. And Ron helped me because I think I have the right answer to this question. Someone asked, well, they wouldn't have an employee number, but my understanding is we bill as a health department. So it's not being billed under Connie White, it's being billed as White County Health Department. Okay. Okay. Gotcha. Okay, so I was wrong on that. So Ron says that each person does have to have a number, and so we've done that in the past when we've contracted with other programs so that that person would have a number. So those are the questions that I had other than, gosh, why didn't we do this a long time ago? I can't answer that question. Yes?
Are you allowed to contract for positions who have a local health personnel job description form that's come up in the past with our agency?
Ron needs to answer that question. Would you ask that again? I'm sorry. I think it's a...
If you have a program, if you have a job classification within the local health personnel, we've always been told we weren't allowed to contract for that position because there was actually a position description.
I can't hear you, Ron.
If it's a full-time merit position, Ron, you may come forward for the IT.
Yeah, please. Thank you.
Thank you.
I can't repeat all of that.
Repeat the question, please.
So the question, well, let you say the question.
Question is, can you contract with a certain classification that's in the merit system outside of the merit system, basically on a contract? What we've done in the last few years, now 2 or 3 years, if it's a full-time merit position, follows those classifications. So what's full-time? 1,950 hours a year. Basically, that's your clear-cut definition of a full-time person. Now, we also have partial year full-time, so but we know that typically is 15, 1,600, could be 14. All right, the question is, can you contract for a full-time position that is in the classifications of the merit system, local health personnel merit system? And most of our guidance has been for years, if it's a full-time, 1,950 hours per year position, that if it's in a classification, that should not be contracted for. Have we had some of those? Probably have, but in the regulations, it will say with DPH approval. So you could, but there's got to be a great reason for it. Those are far and few between. I couldn't, if it's technically a health department full-time employee position, you should not be contracting for it. So I guess your question back to that is this in relation to the school health type person for what we're discussing now? Right. So if the program as such, I guess you're going to look, can I continue it as it is? And if you can, then I would continue it as it is. If you cannot, then you may have to look at other options, because you're contracting with the Board of Education, not per se the employee. They're providing a service through various employees that would be theirs. Now, all those employees would have to have the proper training to do what services we need done. So if they had that proper training, it could be nurse A could go to this middle school this week and nurse B could go the next week. That would be up to them. But there again, we have some supervision of this program too. So, it's going to be kind of a blend with what each person could agree to do, the entity and John?
So technically, they're not contracting with us to be their administrator. We're contracting with them for their staff.
Yes.
Yes.
Right.
So the question was,
So they're our staff, so they fall under us at that one. But, we will be providing their clinical supervision
And training.
and training.
just as you are.
The schools will still be their administrative supervisor.
Yes. And we're not saying this is what we want everybody to do. We're just saying somebody came and said, can we do this? And we looked at it and to try to figure out for this particular situation, this was going to be helpful. And so if somebody else is interested in doing that, hopefully if it ever happens, because it hasn't happened yet, but if we get language, written down and it passes all the legal muster, certain people are welcome to do that. You're welcome to call Bobby if you want to, but just something that I wanted you guys to be aware of. It's not going to work for everybody. Everybody doesn't have that need.
Dr. White.
And we're not going out trying to make that happen. Question?
Dr. White, this is Denise
Yes.
from Hopkins County. I have a couple questions. I'm very confused now. Because
Okay.
the original question that we received yesterday, it made it sound like that these are going to be school board employees paid by the school board and that we're going to be doing the Medicaid billing and receiving a fee for that. Now today you all are talking about them being contracted employees of the health department. Well, we've always been able to do that. So I'm confused. And my second question that didn't get answered earlier is, what would keep any entity from putting an RN and doing RN services in their facility and doing the same thing? The health department would bill the service and take a fee and have an RN that was the employee of another medical entity or another entity. But that's not the way, what I'm hearing today is not what I understood yesterday. Are they going to be health department contracted employees or Board of Education employees?
The question is that they will be Board of Health employees, that the health department would write a contract for some of their time to provide services. And since they would then be contracted with the health department for those services, then the health department can bill the preventive fee schedule. Did I get that right? I'm sorry, Board of Health. I'm sorry. Board to me means Board of Health. That just comes out that way. Everything I said Board of Health means Board of Education. So they're Board of Education employees write a contract with them like I had a contract for me to do services, and then you do your services, and then the health department bills for what you've done.
So what would keep someone from putting somebody at Walmart or something, an RN, which is supposed to be a health department, public health RNs? The only reason RNs are able to do services is because they're public health RNs.
Right.
So
Correct.
what would keep somebody from putting an RN at Walmart and the health department just billing for it and it being a Walmart employee? How would that be any different?
The question is, why could the health department not do a contract with Walmart and have a health department employee at Walmart doing preventive services?
Well, and I think the big question is the RN, because I thought that was specific to public health, that we are the only ones who can bill for RN services as an RN public health nurse.
And that's why they would have to be a contracted public health nurse for that to happen.
Dr. White,
Yes.
this is Diane from Lincoln County. Can you explain to me how this contract with Bobby is, if it happens to be, how's it any different than what Lincoln County has been doing for the past 10 years?
It has a difference with how the contract is written, and that's the legalese stuff that Allison can address better than I can.
What was her question?
Her question was, how is this different than Lincoln County? The answer was what I just said, is it has to do with the legal way the contract is written and how the money is handled. Is Allison, am I getting that right?
Yeah, and I haven't reviewed the Lincoln County contract for, gosh, a long time since we first started talking about this. But
And Dr. Langfield's out front.
If you read it closely, it's the same.
Hey, what I will say before you leave, I know it's not all cut and dry, but I appreciate y'all making the effort to try to get something like this out, because I know there's a lot of school health programs and empty out there.
If we can help, then that's what we want to try to do. Thank you.
the way I'm looking at it, and I don't know who asked the question, I'm sorry. When I looked at the Lincoln County contract, it was worded different so that it didn't show that these nurses were employees of the health department, okay? Whether by contract, by merit, position, whatever. The way we've gotten this written, and it took a lot of work and a lot of getting blessings from legal and Medicaid and blah, blah, it's sort of like, okay, the school has this nurse who does the IEP and all the things that those school education nurses do. And I'm the health department, and I want to run a school health program. Hey, can I borrow your nurse? I'll sign a contract with her. She'll work for me when she's doing health department services. She's working for me. When she's doing education services, she's working for the school board. So it's not full-time, because then one day she may see no students for preventive services, and the next day that might be all she sees. So it's not as cut and dry as I'm going to have a 1,900 hour a year, whatever you said, employee. So the way we worded it, and I mean, sometimes it's in the details and the way the words are written. That's just sort of how it works. And I think that we've been able to finagle it to where this is acceptable to everyone involved. The school board's benefiting, the health department's benefiting, the nurses are definitely benefiting, and the kids are benefiting, and Medicaid's okay with paying it. So I think it's great.
Well, excuse me, but when you reference Lincoln County contract, and I've heard this for quite some time now, that the contract is illegal. But I want you all to know, as a group, I didn't wake up one morning and decide that was the type of contract that I was going to put in place. That contract was negotiated through Medicaid, DPH, and the whole 9 yards. And if there was other languages that needed to be added in there, you all supposedly review the contract every year and sign off on it. Why wasn't that brought to our attention? Because I'm tired of everybody across the state saying that I am in an illegal contract. I'm sick of that.
Okay, well, I never said that you're in an illegal contract, and I just came in. I didn't hear anybody else here say that. And
no, not today, but they have in the past.
Okay. Well, if what's going on in Lincoln County is okay and has been cleared and works for Lincoln County, that's great. What we were saying earlier is that this is not a requirement. If what you have going is great and working out, just ignore the email. This is if you're trying to figure out a way to do it and you didn't know it could be done this certain way, we've got this all blessed and approved. if I don't know about the Lincoln County contract, if we need to go back and have that reviewed with fresh eyes or whatever, that's a different topic for a different day. But I'm just here working on this contract that we've developed that is just a template. If you go in and the numbers don't work for you or whatever, you can tweak it. That's fine. This is just to give you an idea of, hey, for several months we've been working on trying to figure out a way to do this. And so I can't give you any legal advice, but once we get the final contract out, if you want to send back questions to us, like, hey, we might like to do this, and our county attorney has this question, they can call me, or you can call me, and I can run it through legal services, whatever. But we'll keep working to try to make it so that kids don't lose their school health. I mean, that's the ultimate goal.
What's your name?
It's Allison, ALLYSON, Taylor, TAYLOR, at ky.gov. And I'm on the global. I think most of y'all are on the global, aren't you? Anything else you all wanted to ask me? Or? I don't know what's next on the agenda, Dr.
All right, good morning. I know you've all seen this document. I'm going to actually pass out this again. You all probably have copies. And I'll apologize if there are more than one version floating around. First of all, let me say that the reason for the document was essentially we knew you all had your allocations. You're doing your planning budgets. We wanted to make sure that we were clear about what the core services and capabilities were for this year. This is just for this year. It's an evolving document. You all know that Georgia's group is working on foundational capabilities. These could change, and we're working together to do that. But we also felt like it wasn't fair for us not to reiterate or remind people what the core services are for this coming history. So although this may look a lot different from what we had 1 and 2 years ago when we talked about public health block grant and what services were required, this is really not that different, hopefully, if you looked at it. So the purple part is essentially, we didn't really even change any of these core public health services. But what we've done is to format them in a different way. And we work with the programs to try to understand if services we thought could be done either directly or indirectly. So those are these two boxes down below on the purple section. We've not really had the blue section before, but working off the same ION document that the foundational capabilities kHDA group is working off of, we recognize that, yes, these are overarching goals that we all want to have for our health departments, for services or the programs and services that need to be done at local health departments. And then the orange at the bottom, those are enhanced or services above and beyond the minimum. And those are things that, this is not meant to be an exhaustive list at all. So these are just some examples of things on here. Like for instance, hepatitis C testing is not on here. Some health departments do that. That might be an enhanced service. But at this point, it's not what we consider to be core public health service. Probably the biggest changes are in this purple area, and we recognize that more and more services are likely to be done indirectly when we talk to, and you all know what I mean by that, right? In the sense that we talked about do or assure before. I think Dr. Mayfield likes the terminology of directly and indirectly. We use that for this document. But these services could be assured by contracting with others or making sure that other people in your community are doing those particular services. So, I know there are probably questions, so let's start.
I'm ready.
Yes.
I have a few questions.
Yeah.
Number one, accreditation.
Uh-huh.
There are some that are pursuing that, but that is not a requirement for our health department.
And we may want to reword that a little bit. I think our group felt like all health departments should move forward to pursue accreditation. They may not need to be accredited, but they should start making steps in that direction.
But it is not a requirement at this point, so it just begs the question, are these requirements or just suggestions? Because we have information technology and we use are not there. And then yesterday, I guess everybody's on my email. Goodness and fairness.
I think you have to have information technology. The goodness and fairness thing is, to me, I think that's how you interpret that. I mean, obviously that's our goal, is to have health equity across the board, overarching in all the programs.
Excuse me, could everybody come to the microphone when they speak?
I guess I just looked at it as, these are the foundational
I'll try to repeat the question.
that we
Where's
should
the
all
microphone?
have. I thought that was the purpose of the document, so that when you walked into a health department in Kentucky, you would see this, you would see this, and you would see this. And if it's goals, then I don't think it should say foundational capabilities, it should say goals that we're attempting to reach. I guess I just misunderstood it, but I get the core public health services, but these up here, I just don't understand it. I just don't understand, sorry, the goodness and fairness. So who's going to determine if everything we do is good and fair? And we don't have several of these things right now, and I just feel like, I don't know, I guess I just felt like if we're going to, the document that I thought this was is that what can we all agree on, what do we all need to have, and where do we all need to be? And then this little zip across the bottom can be, what you want to be. If it's suggestions, I'm okay with it, but I don't think that's what foundational capabilities is.
Yeah, I understand.
And I think you're talking about the document that's table. Just your it sounds like the table document. That the word table.
But that's how I understood the definition.
Dr. Leach.
The FAB board meets this week sometime, and I think we'll know whether we are accredited or have work to do. But inherent in accreditation is the community health improvement plan. And inherent in a community health improvement plan is one of these. First, we have a disconnect with the state. We're going to figure out how to handle it. Not we, but the big people.
John.
The issue I have with, obviously, personal service and programs is an example that says the following services must be provided directly. I don't have a problem with saying it must be provided directly. I have a problem with the concept that, there should be an understanding we will provide these services directly insofar as funding allows us to do so. We're running out of money.
Well, you're right. I think, again, I'm going back to what Marcia said. What we were trying to do is to come up with a document that this is what, if you're a local health department, these are the services that you should provide. This is the minimal package that you should provide. But I understand that, there are budgetary constraints. We have to under this too. So, yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so all this stuff is perfect.
Yes.
So you just should.
No, that's what should happen. Yes, those are okay. All right. All right. Shall. Okay. If that's what you want to say, it should happen. It shall happen. Yeah. 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 Should happen. That's what we want. We'd like to see all these things in the local health departments and use of the programs. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
We have to.
Yeah.
It's just that we can only do what we can do.
I understand.
questions? Thoughts? Okay, please contact the programs if you're unclear about whether the service should be. If you have an idea and you think you want to indirectly provide this particular program or service, then I would suggest, and it's in the indirect box, I would suggest contacting the specific program and talking to them about that. I know we tried to put some additional guidance in the administrative reference, but I don't think it's probably the detail that, you would necessarily need. So if you have any other questions about that, let me know. I'll let them know.
The question probably that we need to have is related to the MOA because, the MOA refers to this particular
doing these, yeah.
to the administrative records. And the whole issue, from my perspective, is the MOA, and it's always been an issue, every year that I've looked at it, is basically it says that this is what you must do, and we pay you for it if we have the money. Okay, but you must do it. And I think, in regards to the partnership, we all have to come to the realization that the money that we have are state, federal, and local money. And those local monies are, in essence, the minimum local monies are defined by regulation and set by the commission each year. And I think that's what we really have to get to, is, to defining the MOA, to stating that, we will provide all of these services to the level that the fund provides the ability to. I think that's only fair.
I think we talked about this before, and I think we can talk about that this year. I think one of the reasons we did this was to say to, this is a message to local health departments, but a message to boards of health saying these are the minimum capabilities. These are the foundational capabilities. This is what needs to be done. Do you need more money to be able to do these things? To be able to accomplish these goals. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes. So, this is,
sometimes the boards say, yes, we need more money, and the fiscal court then says, no, you don't.
Yeah. That's the way the system works. Yeah. Okay, let me talk about, change topics. I want to talk about the immunization registry. I'm not sure. Yes, Marvin, did you want to say something? If you want to talk about the hands issue, that would be fine. Yeah. Mm-hmm. If you come up to the microphone. There is a microphone.
Okay. Well, I'll try to speak loudly. And then some of you all who had this conversation, please chime in if I'm not understanding what I thought the questions were. One of the questions, my understanding was, had to do with grief counseling because it's in the directly box. And my interpretation all along was that whichever version we're going with, this is kind of a shorthand version. So what I would ask folks to do on grief counseling still is to look at that subject in the AR. Simply speaking here, what we would expect, and I think the AR says, I'm paraphrasing, is that a condolence letter would be sent out and an offer of grief counseling by someone in that community would be offered if the family requested that. Then another question I believe was asked had to do with hands, because there are a few health departments where they do not do hands and somebody else does it in their jurisdiction. And on that one, my reply would be that even though it's in the directly box right now, we would not ask any of those entities to change their current arrangement. We recognize that there are a few exceptions, and we don't plan to overtly do anything to change the arrangements in those communities. I think those were the two questions. Did I? Pardon me? It could be. In some places, there's a nonprofit corporation doing it rather than another health department in another jurisdiction. I hope that provided some better explanation. Well, like I said, this by itself can't address everything. Were those the
So
two
they
questions?
should call you. I think the question was, if there are some exceptions, why is it in the directly box?
I guess the way I'd answer that, at least right now, is that my understanding is the intent and hope of Dr. Shepard is that as many health departments as possible would do the HANDS program because it's so integral to early childhood. And if we have a couple situations where it's done differently right now, and if you felt like you had to try to pursue another situation, then we would try to work something out and listen to your situation.
You're not necessarily asking health departments to change those current situations.
I'm not asking. No, we're not asking anybody to change their current situation, and at the current time, we would leave it indirectly rather than indirectly.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
I would just like to clarify a little bit on this piece of paper. This was work of BGH, and I'm not saying that it's bad work in any shape, form, or fashion. I've done enough of this to know it's hard work. It's unfortunate that this piece of paper came out at the same time that our budgets are coming and that we're working on the other piece of paper, the foundational paper, and it's got the same name, because the things that are on here in the boxes that say should, shall, may, this, that, and other, those are the very things that we're working through as a group, which there are a lot of people at the table, BGH, there's local health department directors, there's people from other associations too, general public, to say, yeah, this is what we should be doing. So there's a lot of people coming together to say, this is what's important to us, not just, me or you or BGH. This is a lot of people coming together to work on this. So this, I don't want, and there again, I'm not trying to say this paper, it's not my paper to say it's bad, this paper. It's just different. It's not the same one. So
I think that's good to clarify. This is something that we put together for the short term because we said in the MOA, and we needed to clarify what we were talking about. So what we're still doing is working for a long term, right? Okay. All right. Immunization registry, you all maybe already know this. Hopefully you've gotten the word. Unfortunately, we have at least temporarily closed the portal for the immunization registry. We were finding some problems with the data quality that was being printed from the certificates, and until we get that worked out, we thought it was a patient safety issue, and we did not want to keep the portal open where people could see what might be incorrect data. That's unfortunate just because of the timing of we're getting ready to go into school physicals. We understand that. Some people are still printing from the bridge. You can do that, but I would caution you just to look, just with anything, caution the nurses, please look over the certificate and make sure that it's correct. Some of the errors that we found were obvious things like, some of them could have been data entry errors, but we would hope the system wouldn't allow that, like shots that were given before people were born, okay? That should be an obvious one. Or 2 or more shots in the same series given on the same date. Those to me are they're errors, whether they're data entry errors or errors of the system. So I think local health departments will have the option to print from the bridge. Again, I would caution you, just if you do that, look it over and just glance at it and make sure that it looks very reasonable before you sign it and move on. We will let you know when we get it up and going. If you have providers who are specifically concerned about it, please refer them to the immunization program. It does not affect meaningful use payments. That is information that's going to the registry, but it's going now through a separate portal called Kentucky Health Information Exchange. So providers in your area that may be concerned, well, the immunization registry has been temporarily shut down. Will I still be able to submit data and get meaningful use payments from the government? The answer is yes. They still, that doesn't affect that portion of it. So we'll kind of keep you updated on what's going on. Obviously, just as was the case in the past, if you want to go to our website, there's a blank certificate available for downloading, and we've had to refer people to that page again. It's at our immunization program site, KIP, on our website, on the DPH website. So we'll keep you updated on that. Questions about immunizations? A couple of other communicable disease things. One is, speaking of immunizations, we've had some recent calls about the nationwide measles outbreak. We have not had any cases here, but 5 of 7 of our surrounding states have been in outbreak status. Most notably Ohio, that's had about a quarter of all measles cases found so far this year. Since measles was declared eliminated in the United States, which means no ongoing transmission year-round, we've had the most cases this year since that happened. It was in the early 2000s. And these started out as imported cases, but now there is transmission person to person within the United States, because I was just on a call, and 80-some% of these are folks that have not been vaccinated, and mostly for religious or philosophical reasons. Ohio has particularly had an issue with our Amish population, and especially in the north central and northeastern part of the state. Many of you have Amish populations that go visit folks in the Amish populations in Ohio, so we need to be vigilant. Most of our providers have not seen measles. So people of my generation and lower really didn't get exposed to measles in their training or in their experience in practice. So it's important to remind providers to think about measles, especially if somebody's been unvaccinated. And we need to also do a good job making sure that Dr. Brawley sent out multiple emails, but making sure that our healthcare facilities and our healthcare workers are immune in one way or another. So they've been vaccinated, they've had the disease, or they have titers that show that they have immunity. So there are several ways. He sent out several emails. I'll be happy to send that email out to you again if you did not receive it. So. Okay, we'll call on you, Dr. Leach. Yeah. Many of those are retired. Many of those doctors are retired at that age. Physicians that have seen it. Lastly, let's talk about chikungunya. Okay, you probably heard about it. It's been in the news. This is a virus that has been recognized in Africa for many, many years. It's mosquito-borne, and it is not transmitted person to person. As of December of last year, there was evidence that the mosquito population in the Caribbean was becoming infected with this same virus from people who traveled from Africa to the Caribbean. And now there is sustained transmission in the Caribbean, and this virus is present in the mosquito population there. There's a special particular outbreak now on the island of Hispaniola, which is where Haiti and the Dominican Republic are located. So I've already done 2 media interviews today. I think the message for you all is the average Kentuckian is not at risk for chikungunya. The people who are at risk are folks who travel to the Caribbean and get bit by infected mosquitoes. They need to try to avoid mosquitoes in the Caribbean, if at all possible. Most cases of chikungunya are self-limited. That means that you have a fever, a headache, joint pain, malaise for a few days to several days, and then you get over it. There is not any treatment except for symptomatic treatment. There's no immunization for this particular virus. Most people do well. There are obviously vulnerable populations that can do poorly. You can have an acute episode and then have joint pain for weeks or months later, though, recurrence of joint pain, okay? But compared to dengue, which we often compare with chikungunya, actually it's a little bit, I guess, I don't know if I want to say milder, but the reality is that most people recover and do well with this particular virus. So just be aware of that. I think we'll be investigating. We're investigating cases now. We've had no confirmed case in Kentucky yet. I would expect that we will continue to investigate, and at some point we will have confirmed cases from travelers who have gone on mission trips or on vacations to the Caribbean this summer. And so just be aware of that at this point. There is a possibility at some point in the future that if we have enough of these people that they come and they're viremic, that mosquitoes can bite them here, and then our population of mosquitoes can become infected, much like West Nile did. So that remains to be seen whether that's going to be happening here or happen here on a year-round basis, like we now have with West Nile. The virus is in our mosquito population. It's endemic here, and it's year-round, but our mosquitoes don't usually bite year-round. So that's the difference between us and tropical areas. So, all right, questions about that? Yes, Jim. Uh-huh. We have actually asked about that, so please contact them, because we've asked CDC if that's something that we can take advantage of. So, and our understanding is that there is a possibility to do that. So, and then if you were to, get with the bishops in the community and you were be able to, provide some mass vaccination clinics, then hopefully we could support that from here. So, yeah, we would think that would be great. And I don't know how much communication there is between your group and some of the other groups in other states, but I know specifically in the northeastern part of this state, there's a lot of communication, between them and Ohio. So, yeah, right. So yeah. So there's usually a lot of communication between different communities.
We found in Lexington that a lot of private people, private doctors' offices, don't want to deal with CFC for their kids. So they're not doing that. They're working collectively to community on it. I'm just wondering, is this something unique to Lexington, or
Yeah.
practices across the state?
Unfortunately, it is not unique to Lexington. We're seeing across the state. We just had a call with a provider in Louisville a couple of weeks ago. Dr. Brawley is actually going to the same meeting that Dr. White left to go to this afternoon to talk to the chief medical officers of the MCOs about vaccinations and the VFC program. We're really trying to work through them to get more providers signed up for the program. We feel like if people are on their roles as primary care providers, providing primary care services for their MCO patients, then they really should be able to give basic immunizations. And one way to do that is to be a BFC provider. So we recognize that. We're pushing hard. We also recognize there are requirements associated with the program, and that's usually the major barrier why people, especially private providers, do not want to participate. So we need to try to overcome some of those barriers if possible.
At the other end of the continuum, and there's
Uh-huh.
and there's two things. The monthly report requires an RN all day, and the receiving stock and the accounting for what's shipped in. And if you compare it to back when somebody was regular insurance, that's where the beef is. The doctors, I don't compare that. We can fight that, because you only get certain.
That's who we heard from too, was practice managers. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's who we really have to convince, because they're the ones that they have the control at the doctor's offices. Okay, great. All right, Joy, I know you have a couple of things to say about CCSG.
Hello, my name's Joy Hoskins. I know there's a lot of new faces in the room today. I'm the Division Director for Women's Health as well as the Chief Nursing Officer. Two announcements this morning, or this afternoon now, both regarding nursing office topics. The CCSG is complete. It has been sent to our Cabinet Office of Technology Services. They have to approve that before we put that on our website. So that was sent yesterday, and we're hoping to get a response either today or tomorrow. We have extended out the effective date for the CCSG to July 15th. We know that local health departments need that additional time for staff training, to review the changes, and to obtain your medical director's signatures. So the effective date will be July 15th, and we hope that additional time will be helpful to you. Secondly, I wanted to let you all know that I sent out an email today about Thursday's Public Health Nursing ITV, and I just wanted to mention that because there's something for everybody on Thursday's agenda. We will be talking about Shiga toxin-producing E. coli, which I know is everybody's favorite topic. And so that will be our nursing CE offering as well as the ERT offering. So you'll be able to get both credits for those. And I have started sending those, the agenda out to the Epi Rapid Response Team folks. So they'll be able to have that information and participate as well. Next, we have the Safe and Sound video that was on KET that ran, I believe, April 21st. We showed the video. This video was about an hour long, and we shared that at our recent DPHL staff meeting. The title of it is Raising Emotionally Healthy Children in a Stressful World. And so there's several HANDS programs that are featured. Clark County is on there. There's a spot from Mason County. There's a spot from Ashland Boyd. So it has a really nice representation from services that are provided to support children across the state. So we'll be providing that at the ITV on Thursday if you're available to watch that. It is an hour long. Scott, I don't think they got you on camera, did they? No. And then lastly, there's the Title X update about the I&E committee requirement. So I just wanted to let you all know that, and certainly you and your staff are always welcome to attend those trainings. That's all I have. Any questions? Okay. Oh, and thank you. I'm back from medical leave. I was out for about 4 weeks. I wanted to thank you all for your support and your well wishes. If anybody wants to talk about hip replacement surgery, I'll be glad to have that conversation with you.
Ron
Gail's here, so let me do a quick thumbnail. Yeah. I believe a week or so ago, I saw the communication about the department regarding home health settlements for, there's your FY13 cost settlements, and I think the word was that Medicaid was going to try to have those processed the early FY15, correct? FY15, yes, after July 1st. The Commissioner's Office and myself, we have been working since those communications on trying to get that expedited. You know, it's and Gail, for all of you in home health, know it's been many years we've had this last minute. Now I know this is just the waiver side. Remember, this is the home health waiver side, okay? Your home health's now with the MCO, so let's make sure it's the waiver side of the home health. And we know for years we've had the challenge of, you know, getting in cars and driving across the state to help to get those checks delivered to you, because it's been the last of the fiscal year at a time when you've needed those monies. Those are big dollars, and I think the waiver settlement's a little over $3 million planned this year for, I think, 11 of you of the health departments. And, but anyway, through the Commissioner's Office here and my office, we have worked really hard with the Medicaid Commissioner's Office to try to get that settlement expedited. So hopeful, I'm here today to give you hope that by the last week of June, hopefully that settlement will be a reality to you. Now what that means to you. Yes, it means probably pre-holiday, fill up the car with gas, because we may want to meet with, we'll probably get hard checks to us to try to get those to you before the close. That's what we can document as an old year receipt. That's our goal, you know, try to get those monies recorded as old year receipts. So we may call upon you over the next week once we feel like that's going to become a reality and ask Gail, you'll try to help me to get coordination. If we're going to get those settlements to occur, we want to make sure that we have points where we can get them to rather than the mailbox. If it is the mail, if that's the right way, we will. We'll just give you authority to deposit those. Even if it's deposited July the 3rd or 2nd, we'll give you permission to have those recorded as an old year receipt. Yes. So Kentucky Medicaid owes you for some settlements as well. So Kentucky Home Health, which will be smaller, I'm certain. And then, but waiver's the big, it's a large settlement, guys. For many of you, I think some of the, I won't give the dollar, but it's huge for many of you. And I understand your financial health. No, it means a lot to all of you, number one, but some of you are really in need of those dollars. So we're working. We're going to push really hard day in, day out to make it work, but it's Medicaid's closing their books like all state agencies are closing their books, so they know this is a priority. We've tried to elevate it and try to get it done a week sooner than what they were optimistic on there, and they said July 1st or after, so we're trying to get it before July. So work with us, be patient, and Gail will be my contact. Gail will know what I know, so if y'all contact her, she'll get to me, okay? But I'll stay with you on it, okay? And another quick reminder, as you know, I just want to say this, as you're all working with your boards on your budgets, remember, I want to remember the time, I think Dr. Humbaugh shared this with the executive team yesterday, so he and I have not got a chance to talk this morning or since yesterday afternoon, but remember, although we have the new retirement dollars, everybody at Louisville Metro shares in those retirement dollars. So Dr. Nesbitt, I won't talk to you about this, but the other health departments, remember that there's $18 million in allocations for our county health departments to support with the retirement costs this next fiscal year. I want to remind you about the cash flow of this. So as you're talking to your boards, while there's monies to support your retirement, their retirement costs, your health department's retirement, remember by law, by Kentucky law, I can't get those monies out no sooner than September 1st. That's about half the allocation will get out to about September the 1st. And then it will be again April 1st by law. That's the budget bill law. So, typically we've always paid you in advance. We've given you those dollars in July for a whole 6 months, or in January for a whole 6 months. I can't give you 6 months until September. I can't give you the next 6 months. So remind your boards as you're talking about your funding for the new year about the cash flow while there's new monies coming your way for retirement. It's just that we understand there's a cash flow challenge for you guys because it's not the timing of it's delayed. New money, but it's delayed. So remind your boards so there's no surprises that while we're getting new money, there's a concern I want to share with you boards that we have the issue of the timing of getting the monies from Frankfurt, meaning that it's by law, not Frankfurt's fault as far as the Department of Health. It's just the state, San Jose, but
it's the state law that's put a condition in here that says it has to be on September the 1st and then again on April 1st. So just please share that with your boards, because I know hopefully it will help your boards understand if there's cash flow concerns during the year. That's one thing you could say. Remember, we had that discussion. I want to share in advance that that's one of the things that we had as a hurdle to cross. So we just wanted to share that with you as well. But we have 25 budgets in. I think Jenny reported this morning 25. So thank you all for your turnaround on that. It's good work. It's of course we're still expecting 61 in soon. So please continue to work. Because I know this morning you all heard about timelines for reporting also your budgets. So continue to get your budgets worked through to get to us, and we'll do our best to get those things turned and back to you as well, okay? Thank you all.
I just have a really quick and brief update on the EHR system. It is still going through the approval process. It is backed up behind other contracts that must be approved according to the statute by the end of the fiscal year for the services to be in effect for January 1st. So it is still going through the approval process, so there's really not much more to tell you on that. Okay. Is there any questions?
So that means the RFP's not yet out.
It has not gone out.
Let me just say one other thing. We are trying to keep track of the issue of what's become a national issue of unaccompanied children on the southwest border. Okay. Yeah. We're trying to keep track of the issue of unaccompanied children that are coming to the U.S. on the southwest border of the United States. This is probably becoming more and more of a national issue. I know that there's going to be a process in place. I know that Southwest states are very involved in that now. We may become involved as these children try to get reunited with family members who may be in the United States at various places in the United States, and that may include Kentucky. So just keep that on your radar screen. Great. Thanks.
Hey Scott, this might be a question of mine, I'm not really sure. Relating to the retirement money. Okay. Previously, y'all said that you would look at it on maybe July 15th, and then again January 15th. Is that correct?
That's correct.
I got school nurses at partial year appointments. On July 15th, they're out of pay status. They're not getting money contributed into the retirement system because we're not working.
Correct.
In August, they quit. How is that going to be handled? Because I don't want to be short-changed.
Yeah.
Thank you, Doctor. Thank you.
The answer is we don't know. I talked with the executive committee about it yesterday. We brought up this issue. We recognize it as an issue, but we also have a law that we have to follow. We talked about some type of possibly giving monies up front in September and then reconciling about what actually happens in the previous 6 months, giving additional money to people who, were out of pay status in July, and then maybe having other people get credits if they were in the opposite situation and they didn't have home health. But we've got to figure that out, and we would like some suggestions from you all because we're still going to have to follow the letter of the law here.
Yeah, two conditions in the law. I talked about earlier I talked about the payment side of the law, but the other side of the law is KRS provides the department in July and January, very prescriptively, July and January, we're to get a report based on those reports that they provide, determine the allocated amounts that will go out and payments that will go out in September and again in April. So as Dr. Humbaugh said, we're working through that with our cabinet. We're working through that to try to figure out the best. We know it's your money. We want to benefit you. So to change the way what Dr. Humbaugh alluded to, for us to change and be bigger than the law, we can't do that. But
collectively, I think the health departments have to be all in agreement with what we do different than the law, because ultimately that's the ones that could say the state's not working the law the way it was intended to work. So we need the help of our health departments on this, but we do have ideas, Dr. Humboldt kind of alluded to, about how we may look at it. But again, we're just trying to think of every possible scenario to try to help you to get your money, to address concerns like you're sharing, Noel. We even thought about looking at May data and using that May, as he talked about, to say, well, that would be Noel's health department with nurses in it, so should we look at that data? Well, we understand also there's health departments that won't have schools maybe in July, so if we looked at May data, we'd be over. So there's a lot to this, guys. It's just not simple. Each one of you can think about how it would have benefited or not benefited you, but collectively, looking at it as a large, big picture, we're working through with the cabinet permission and guidance on how we could do this, but we need your help in this.
Bottom line is that we'll have to follow the law. There's the prescription that the snapshots have to be taken in those specific months of July and January. So we need to figure out how that's going to work for everybody.
Well, Dr. Humboldt, I don't want you to take offense, but if you do, that's okay too. I hope this is treated in a more fair manner than what the allocation was on public health block grant, because you all last paid us input on that public health block grant funding. But then, we see when the allocation was put out on the block grant funding, it ranged from a cut from 7% all the way to 68%, which again, one of your all's statements is there's something about include both goodness and fairness. I don't.
All right, well, I'm going to say that, yeah, I do take offense to that, because I do feel like we tried very hard to be as fair as possible. We applied the same principles that we did in general to health departments, just like we did before for the block grant. We felt like there were some exceptions, and we tried to lessen the blow for, and for some health departments that were at the top. And so I guess let me know what you think was unfair, but everybody has their own definition of what they think fairness is, I suppose. So, all right.
Okay, any other questions? Okay. Appreciate everybody's time. I know it's been a full day, so I need a motion to adjourn. Got it, seconded. Thank you all so much. Thank you.